and welcome to WOCR 89.1 The One, your source for local sports. Good afternoon. I can say afternoon now because it is noon. My name is Jack Webb. I will be your host and commentator for this afternoon's action. We have yet another matchup here in college football as the University of Olivet Comets take on the Bluffton University Beavers. Let's start out with some notes about the Comets. As we saw last week when we broadcasted here on WOCR, last week was a 45-28 loss to the Crusaders of Madonna University. That was their first win in program history. That, at the time, I said it was an historic win. I still stand by that for the Crusaders, as that was their first actual win playing the full 60 minutes on the field. The Comets answered back after those first few scores from, the Comets answered back from the first few scores from Madonna, but the halftime score was still 24-14. And the Comets did open up that second half with a bang, as an interception from Montrell Reed to set up the score. That gave the Comets their first lead of the game. So they kind of came into the gate there after that halftime break, just really looking sharp and looking like they were about to turn the tides for the rest of the half. But it turns out that one lead they had there was about a 3-point lead early in the third quarter. That was their only lead of the game, as Madonna then went on to score 3 straight touchdowns, which were left completely unanswered by the Comets. It was a rough game where Madonna used their passing and their rushing to truly outpace the Comets there. So definitely a lot to work on as UO gets set to play their third game of the season. In terms of, the history side of things, this is UO's first 0-2 start since 2012. The game against Madonna solidified their worst start in 13 seasons. In 2012, the Comets went completely winless and was the final year in a very rough patch for Olivet, where between 2008 and 2012, they only won 2 games total. So that's, 40 games, and they only won 2? That's definitely rock bottom there, and also including 3 winless seasons as well. Now, not to predict anything, but in case they do have a rough year this year, they could also rebound the next year, because after that 2012 season, they did go on to go 6-4, and then a couple years later, they won 2 back-to-back MIAA championships. So they could either, if this year for Olivet doesn't turn out to be quite the first year that some have hoped it would be, they either have that opportunity to bounce back the next year, especially with a lot of returners, at least as of now slated to return for next year, or they could just kind of settle in for a little bit and kind of be in the basement of the MIAA, kind of rebuilding until they eventually get back to the top again. But the only way we find out there is by watching for ourselves on that one. Another thing that I mentioned was a point for last week's game was UO's youth. This means, that their team, again, quite inexperienced in the short term, but again, if you build that culture, build that program, and have a lot of returners and have people stay for a while, that inexperience will then turn to great experience as they get into their junior and senior years. Coach Yeiter, who I interviewed last week before last week's game, he said he was very excited about this new recruiting class, but at the same time, though, in the last couple of games, you've really seen that inexperience show. So that's kind of been one of the reasons why this has been a bit of a rough start to the season, is because you have a lot of starters that are not only making their first collegiate start, but are playing in their first collegiate games, period. So although this would make a lot of these players battle-tested for the future, so it's kind of, worth it for, in the years leading up to this, or the years after this, I should say. Right now, we're just kind of in that rough spot of, that a lot of the teams in this situation find themselves in. So it's going to be interesting to see how this inexperience progresses for the Comets. Another thing that I mentioned last week was UO's new offensive scheme and how they're passing the ball a lot more. They're kind of really utilizing their receivers and really giving the keys to quarterback Daniel Avila. From the first two games, there's been a noticeable difference from how Coach Jeter and his staff are running the show. Of course, with the last coaching staff, Coach Moose, really utilizing the running weapons and barely passing at all, even using a dual-threat quarterback like Thomas Faust in his last season as head coach, last couple seasons, I should say. Also utilizing kind of that, balance of attacks, but this time they're kind of going for more of a passing game, and currently, actually, they are warming up there for, you can currently see Daniel Avila warming up with some of the receivers right now, actually on the field. But throughout his first two games as the starting quarterback for Olivet, and actually his first two games in his collegiate career, Avila has put up 606 passing yards and also 5 touchdowns, also utilizing receiving weapons like Rashawn Mercier, who himself has gotten 241 receiving yards. Both players are third in all of the MIAA in each of the categories I mentioned, so passing yards and receiving yards respectively. They also have a standout freshman, Wade Brashears. We saw a lot of him last week. Is 8th in the MIAA with 158 receiving yards. He also led the receiving crew last game, as I mentioned, seeing a lot of him. It's going to be interesting to see who Avila is going to go to this game. Is it going to be Mercier more? Is it going to be Brashears? Is it going to be a mix of both? Or is he going to use some of the other receivers that didn't necessarily get as many receptions last game? Players like Noah Bates, Herbert Crawford, also tight end Julian Toscano as well. Are they going to utilize some of those guys more? We kind of saw Toscano on some of those offensive plays, and also Noah Bates kind of getting a touch or two, but it was mainly dominated by Mercier and Brashears. So it's going to be something that we'll have to find out for ourselves there. Now, Avila had 48 passing attempts in the last game, which is now tied for second in the record books for most passing attempts in a single game of all time. The most is within reach, however. Olivet quarterbacks Jason Van Leuven in 2000 and Braden Black in 2014 are both tied for the record, and that record is 51 passing attempts for a single game. That's only 3 off of what Avila achieved last game. So will we see that record be shattered with this new offensive scheme at some point, whether that's this year or in the years to come? That's something that we'll have to monitor as we progress through the season and through just the time of this program. I have some important team stats from last week's game against Madonna that are worthy of noting here for the Comets. Madonna, of course, as I mentioned, not only got their first win in program history, but put up the greatest amount of points in program history with 45. With that, Olivet allowed over 550 yards of total offense, including 379 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns, with the secondary actively being a major problem. And I will get to some of the takeaways and some of the questions I'll have for both teams at the end of this pregame, and one of them I can already tell you is regarding the Olivet secondary, because that was, at least from my vantage point, the most glaring mishap that entire game. Madonna may have had 13 penalties with a loss of over 140 yards, which of course still says a lot about how they play and also just how much they still have to work on themselves, but they still won the game. Olivet themselves had 10 penalties, so the Comets definitely also have to focus on cleaning up their game a little bit, because even if you face a team that doesn't have 13, 14, 15 penalties, it's still going to get you if you have that many in the game. So you really have to work on playing a good game and also making smart decisions. However, I will mention that on the defensive end, it wasn't all bad for the Comets. They did put up 4 sacks against the Crusaders, so they were able to put a lot of pressure through the quarterback, Nathan Patterson. But at the same time, he still threw for over 300 yards, so it wasn't, of course, all great at the end of the day. Some players to watch here for the Comets. We kind of mentioned a couple of them already. Daniel Avila, who was 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Also, the team's leading rusher. He doesn't seem to be too much of a dual threat, and currently we're seeing in practice him handing the ball off to the primary running back, Jalen Johnson, the freshman. But he did run a little bit in the last game, even going for the team's lone rushing touchdown. And it's also the only rushing touchdown they've had all season. So he's only rushed for 48 yards too, so that really just goes to show you how much they really are running the ball. Now, despite some questionable choices he did make, he never turned the ball over, and he definitely showed some flashes here and there. So it's not all bad, certainly. And again, it's just getting more of that experience that'll be helpful for Avila in the long run. Of course, you have the two receiving options. Rashawn Mercier, who has 17 receptions for 241 yards on the season and a touchdown. He's also one of the lead kick returners for the Comets, 3 returns for 35 yards. He's the team leader in receptions and yards. Wade Brashear is, of course, number 4, the freshman from... He's actually, I believe, one of the kids from Florida, because, again, that was kind of a big storyline that I kind of mentioned earlier, that there's a lot of players in this team that are from Florida specifically. Yeah, Wade Brashear's from Sanford, Florida, Lake Mary Prep High School. So one of those incoming freshmen from the state of Florida. Again, interesting kind of choice to go from Florida to Michigan, but I don't question anything here. And that certainly is something I don't question either, is Wade Brashear's talent on the football field. 13 receptions for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he is, as a freshman, the team leader in receiving touchdowns. Also on the offensive line, of course, as I mentioned last week, I have definitely some key players right up on the line kind of protecting Avila and the runners. You have Kyle Cruson. He's the number 75 junior captain. He did go down in the last game, but he seems to be all right for this game. He's 6'3" and 305, so a very sturdy build. Same with sophomore Jelani Harbor, number 77, 6'5", 315. So again, you got really some true strength on the line, and it's going to be up to them to really protect Avila and to stop Bluffton's defense, which I'll get to in a second. On the defensive side of the Comets, though, we have a trio of defensive linemen that are making very good progress and are doing quite well for themselves so far this season. We have Javon Anderson, number 95, who's had 7 tackles and a sack and a 1.5 tackle for loss. Austin Schraub, who didn't really do much against Rochester. He's the only D lineman who's a captain on the team, but in the game alone against Madonna, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, and also 2 tackles for loss as well. You also have Charles Anderson, number 97 for the defensive line, also putting in 7 tackles too. Linebackers, Draven Langston, I would say the one of the most impactful players on their defense, especially him proving that title last week and kind of getting his season totals up to 10 tackles, also a sack as well. He was really, mostly from what I could see, involved with pretty much every single play. And we might see that again this time. Carlton Freeman, another number 9, another linebacker, same exact thing. He was very involved in a lot of the defensive plays for Olivet. On the season, 7 tackles and half a sack and a total tackle for loss there. And then for the secondary, which I had a lot more players to highlight last week for the secondary, and then they started really having some serious issues. But at the same time, the one bright spot in that secondary was, of course, number 0, the captain, Montrell Reed. So far in the season, his totals are up to 10 tackles, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, had that interception, the first of the season for him specifically. So he's going to definitely be somebody to watch there on the secondary and see if he can provide some leadership to a side of the field that definitely needs some more experience. And those are pretty much my players to watch for Olivet. And again, at the end of the pregame, I will go over kind of the objectives for each team. But before I do that, let's talk about the away school, the Bluffton Beavers, of Bluffton University, saying Bluffton a lot today already, from Bluffton, Ohio, located on the western side of the state. They've played 2 MIAA teams per season since 2021 and at least 1 since 2016. Also, a notable fact here, from 2008 to 2011, they only played teams from the MIAA for their non-conference slate, meaning that they play 2 or even 3 a season, which means that they truly are very familiar with schools in this area. They are from the Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference, which features several teams that Olivet has played before in various sports, such as Franklin and Hanover for football, and Anderson for basketball, and I believe baseball as well. The MIAA and the HCAC, say that 5 times fast, are involved in a challenge. Sometimes conferences, I've noticed this a lot in college basketball, sometimes conferences just set up these challenges together, and just for that week, they all play each other, and it really is interesting. Their last game came from an MIAA school. It was a 45-39 loss to UO's main rival, Albion. It was a game in overtime. Albion was up 29-3 at the half, but the Beavers bounced back, scoring 29 unanswered points of their own, meaning that they were down by 26 and went up and climbed all the way back and was up by 3 by the end of the second half. Albion ties it with a field goal to get it to overtime, and then they just kind of used that momentum and sealed the deal there, which I would imagine just an absolutely heartbreaking loss for the Beavers there, especially after climbing that far just to end up losing anyway. Now, Bluffton also isn't really a stranger to Olivet either. They've actually faced each other 10 previous times. Actually, it's kind of one of the most one of the most frequent out-of-state opponents for Olivet, historically speaking. However, although these teams have met this many times, and this being their 11th meeting of all time, the last game was all the way back in 1991. This is definitely before I was born. Bluffton lost that matchup to the Comets 26-14, and get this, folks. Bluffton has not beaten Olivet since 1954. Back when they actually used to play each other pretty much every year. There was a span of maybe 4 or 5 years where they were a regular opponent. And although Olivet won the first ever matchup between the teams in 1949, Bluffton went on a 5-game winning streak after that. Bluffton also hasn't had an over 500 season since 2016. That's a season that has more wins than losses. In that season in 2016, they went 7-3, defeating MIAA team Trine in non-conference play. And that season in 2016 was their best since 1988. Also the last time they had more than 7 wins in a single season, and the last time they made the NCAA Division III playoffs. So Bluffton's been kind of struggling as of late. They haven't been, I wouldn't say it's, definitely not rock bottom. They've still put out some solid teams, but definitely they want to get back to more of a consistent winning culture, kind of what they experienced in the late 80s, which was kind of the best stretch they've ever had in their program history. And another thing I'll mention before getting to the players to watch here, which we might have to take a break for that really quick. Bluffton's offense is pretty similar to Olivet in the way that they prioritize the passing game. So far this season, they've averaged 256 passing yards per game and exactly 100 rushing yards. Most of that coming from one of their players to watch, the dual-threat quarterback Taiwan Clark, which we'll be seeing a lot of in this game. And it's going to be interesting to see if Olivet's secondary, which has had some issues with Madonna's passing attack, will be able to keep up with both a quarterback that has a lot of advantage over the air, but also has that mobility to also fool everybody. And then also, wasn't long ago when Olivet had themselves a dual-threat quarterback that I vividly remember one game literally went for 200 passing yards and rushing yards individually, which is insane. I called that quarterback, a man by the name of Thomas Faust, the D3 Cam Newton after that game, because I was just like, I was in awe, completely in awe. And, Olivet may not be in that position currently, but now they'll have to play against a quarterback they might share some of the similar traits, despite the fact that he, like Daniel Avila, is also a sophomore. 4 team stats from Bluffton's last game against Albion. They were only 5 of 16 on third downs. They threw 2 picks. Taiwan Clark got sacked 6 times, so definitely a good opportunity for Olivet to use that defensive line to get past maybe a weaker Bluffton O-line there. They punted 4 times, had 7 penalties for 60 yards. They had, the ball for 9 more minutes than Albion still lost. And they also, however, kind of good news for the Beavers, though. They have forced several fumbles, so they have been no strangers to forcing those kinds of things. And now let's cover the players to watch here. For starters, again, Taiwan Clark. He's so far 38 for 62 on the season, 512 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and also 131 total rushing yards as well. He is second in the HCAC in passing and rushing yards. But he has some really valuable receiving weapons as well, mainly number 83, Jashawn Wyckoff. He went for, so far in this season, he's gone for 12 receptions and 197 yards, third in that conference and in receiving yards. And again, we talk about some of these starters that are only freshmen and sophomores, especially for Olivet. Wyckoff's only a freshman for the Beavers, so that's very exciting that he's doing this well already. But they also have some experience.
Give it up for the Marching Comets. Once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Cutler Athletic Complex for today's non-conference football game between the Bluffton University Beavers and the University of Olivet Comets. University of Olivet and Bluffton University have many proud traditions, but poor sportsmanship is not one of them. The student-athletes' involvement in intercollegiate activities contributes to the development of their core values of fairness, integrity, honesty, and respect. These values are an integral part of a competitive yet positive game environment. University of Olivet, the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association, and the NCAA promote good sportsmanship by its student-athletes, coaches, and spectators. Profanity, racist or sexist comments, or other intimidating actions directed at student-athletes, coaches, officials, or other fans is not permitted and will not be tolerated during today's game. As always, remind you, be loud, be proud, and be positive. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask if you could please stand if you are able. Direct your attention to the south end of the field as we have the playing of our national anthem performed by the Marching Comets. Give it up one more time for the University of Olivet Marching Comets.
So far, and also some historical tidbits as well. Always, personally, very fun for me to kind of look at really quick. But before we do get ready here for the game, again, I mentioned that it is now around 6 minutes to kick off. I have some takeaways that I mentioned for each of these teams. It's just a couple of things that both teams really do need to work on, and we kind of mentioned some of them already in the pregame. But I kind of want to put this more in more of an easy structure here. So I have three for each team, and then also a question to ask as well. So for Olivet, first of all, they must play a cleaner and smarter game and a brand of football, really. I mean, Coach Yeiter has repeatedly told me, even in the one interview that I had with him, that they like to play the game the right way. I'm not sure by right way if he meant having 10 penalties. So definitely something that the Comets will have to work on for this game. And they'll need to both reduce penalties and also turnovers as well. They definitely had a big issue with fumbling the football against Madonna. Also, Olivet must be vigilant and lock down the air to limit Bluffton's passing game. They gave up way too many easy touchdowns against Madonna. A couple of passes went for 60 to 70 yards, and they let their freshman quarterback go for over 300 yards over the air as well. So it's going to be very apparent and very important for the secondary of Olivet specifically to really kind of limit the quarterback there for Bluffton. Also, Olivet's offense must also be on point to cover for any defensive errors. Vila, the quarterback for Olivet, must make smart decisions with the ball, and the receivers also have to catch their passes as well. Now, from what I could tell from covering the game last week, and I could be wrong on this, but the dropping the passes weren't as big of an issue. I know that there were a couple of complaints from the coaches that were sitting right next to me, that there might have been some of those, but mainly the thing is that Avila as the quarterback needs to make those smart decisions, and for the most part he did, but there were definitely a couple plays, especially on that fourth down, where it was a little iffy, and pretty much everyone was wondering, why'd you make that pass? And of course, it's good for these players to get that experience early on, because by next year, 2 years from now, they won't make those mistakes. As Olivet, now the football team coming through the tunnel. Here come the Comets, as our wonderful PA announcer says. We're about 4 minutes from kickoff now. So, objective, cleaner, smarter game, must lock down the airspace, and also offense has to do their best to limit mistakes so that they can possibly cover for any defensive errors. Now here's the question that I think a lot of us are asking, especially fans of the University of Olivet. Can Coach Yeiter get his first win as UO's football coach? Of course, if you are not aware, this is a completely new coaching staff. Coach Yeiter coming from Muskingum University, also in Ohio, like Bluffton is. And he, in the home debut last week, lost to Madonna and, of course, lost on the road to Rochester. Can this be the day where they finally notch one into the win column? We will have to see. For Bluffton, for the Beavers, their O-line has to protect Taiwan Clark. UO's defensive line is very capable of getting to the QB regularly, and although Clark's mobility helps, his ability to scramble and also run as well, it's not going to save them forever. And we kind of see those sometimes with teams that they just sometimes can't always, despite the mobility, can't always handle the pressure that comes at them. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to be done for Bluffton and their offense. Bluffton also has to use their defensive experience to create an advantage right away. At times, Olivet's youth is very noticeable, and they have enough returners on the defensive end, especially in the secondary, to exploit a lot of those errors. And Bluffton cannot afford to have another slow start. They may have come back, but still, going down 29-3 at the half is never a good thing. And of course, they may not always be able to come back and get to overtime or whatever. And now the question for Bluffton is this: can they defeat Olivet for the first time in 71 years? That is something we will be finding out here, as it is now a minute 30 left to go here for kickoff. The captains just met in the middle of the field to talk and also get the coin toss as well. As I mentioned, a very beautiful day here here in Olivet. Of course, last time it was kind of a gloomy day to start out with, but it really ended up being very good there. As the stands are kind of also starting to fill up a little more here on the Olivet side. Bluffton still has some, despite the journey from Ohio to Michigan, they still got some fans on their side as well. They're ready to I think both fans are ready to see their team bounce back after a loss, whether that was Olivet's unexpected loss against Madonna or if it was Bluffton's very close loss and hard-fought game against Albion. I think both fans are ready to see, once again, their team get a win, whether if it's Bluffton, the last time they're seeing that was early in the season, or if it's Olivet the first time since last season. It's going to be interesting to see which team gets up on top. And as I mentioned, WOCR, we love calling these college football games. We love bringing you this action every week. So, of course, we appreciate everybody tuning in right now, and I'm very grateful that the university gives students these experiences to broadcast these games and get experience up. I'm definitely not always super good at sports broadcasting, so it's always good for students like me to get these experiences and stuff like that. And it's also just great to be up here in the press box and watch some football. Both teams now getting out to the field here, and Olivet will get the kickoff here to return. I believe that is number 2, Bakari Fields, out to return there. Sometimes with Olivet's jerseys, it can be a little tough to see the numbers. I know that's an issue I have had in the past. But here we go. So it is 15 now, and kicking off here for the Beavers, of course, Colton Yugovich. And getting ready here, and here comes the kick, and it's a high arcing one. And it'll be returned starting at around the 20. The catch is bobbled a little bit, but the runner has some room. It's Jalen Johnson across to the near side, and he'll get to around the 47-yard line. Great field position for the Comets to start out with. And Jalen Johnson, we saw a lot of him last game, kind of being used as that primary running back. And now that Olivet will set up shop for their first offensive drive, we'll have to see how much he is utilized. We do see him going out with the rest of the offense here. We have Noah Bates and Rashawn Mercier as the receivers. Avila, of course, under center. It's 1st and 10, 14:54 left to go in this quarter. Avila setting the fullback in motion. He'll fake the handoff and go to Noah Bates on the far side, and that pass is complete. That'll be enough for a Comet first down as Bates gets across the 40-yard line. And as the PA announcer says, that's another Comet first down, even though it's the first gain of the game. And we're already seeing this with Olivet kind of having this steady offensive drive, which is a great way to start that game if you're the Comets. So now it's a 1st and 10 on the 40-yard line, already in Bluffton territory here. Avila, Wade Brashears joining in on the right side, that freshman receiver for the Comets. Avila this time will hand it off to Jalen Johnson. He has some room in the middle, but eventually, as he powers his way through for additional yardage, gets brought down, and it won't be enough for a first down, but it's going to be a 2nd and short here as Wade Brashears gets out, and Julian Toscano, the tight end, comes in for Olivet. And for the tackle there, as a group of Beavers on the tackle there, but one of them was number 1, Mason Brandon, one of the linebackers we talked about earlier in the pregame. 2nd and 1, 31 on the 31-yard line. Avila takes the snap, will hand it off to Ramel Frank, who's now in the game, one of the running backs, and he will have enough to power through, and that'll be a first down for Olivet. Ramel Frank, number 26 for Olivet, junior from Kalamazoo Central. I know we knew a fair amount of players on Olivet from Kalamazoo Central, so not surprised to see another football player from that high school. 1st and 10 on the 28-yard line, 2 receivers to Avila's right, 1 to his left. He'll roll out to his right, looking for Wade Brashears. He's got him on the near side. Wade Brashears making some men miss, and that'll be again another steady gain and enough to move the chains for the Comets. First reception for Brashears in this game. Again, he's that freshman from Sanford, Florida. And the Comet fans are liking what they're seeing so far. They've gotten down the field very quickly. And they just gotta, if they want to score on this opening drive, they just gotta keep that momentum going. A trio of receivers on the left side. Toscano set in motion on the 14-yard line. Mercier also set in motion, goes to the right side. Avila He'll hand it off to Jalen Johnson, who's back on the field. Johnson has some room, and he goes and fills the gap. That's a touchdown for O-Town. Jalen Johnson, and his first play back after taking that one-play breather, just has to beat one man from Bluffton and just goes right through that gap and gets into the end zone. And just like that, Olivet for their opening drive in this game, starting this game off a lot better than they did last week. And they found themselves with a lead here, possibly their biggest of the season, as the extra point for Angel Potter is up and good. What a way to start this drive here for the Comets. And I was a little surprised they did kind of use the running game a little more than I initially expected, and maybe they possibly will change it up a little bit as the game goes, but definitely utilizing those running options like Jalen Johnson, like Ramel Frank, and also passing along the way as well to kind of keep that steady momentum going. They really found a good balance there. And now it'll be up to the Beavers of Bluffton to respond here, and we will see if they do just that. 12-17 left to go in this first quarter. The sun is still shining here in Olivet, Michigan, as we have a couple people out to return for the Beavers, mainly number 4, Trey Cummings, a senior from, Florida too, Leesburg, Florida. Also to return Jamarian Banks, freshman running back from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Both of those are the main returners for the Beavers. Angel Potter, he'll get set to kick off here for the Comets. And it's a low kick and rumbles around, and Cummings will botch the ball here, and he'll return it at the goal line. A swarm of Comets already trying to meet him. He's trying to make a lot of men miss there, but because of how far that ball traveled and because of that initial fumble there, it's not going to be great field position for the Beavers. They're going to end up at around the 15-yard line. There's Trey Cummings on the return there, and now the Beavers will set up shop here. Now we'll get to see their dual threat quarterback, Tywan Clark here, number 7, 6'2", 200-pound sophomore from Toledo, Ohio. And you see the Comet sideline making some noise as their defense takes the field for the first time. 1st and 10 on the 15. Frank sending a man in motion. And he will hand it off to Jamarian Banks, who tries to find some room on the near side, but he will only end up getting a gain of about a yard or two. So it'll be second down. It will be a gain of 3. This will be second down with just under 12 minutes left to go. Jamarian Banks is the one, I wouldn't say the main running back they've used, but definitely one of them. And they elect to go with that pass to start the drive here. 18-yard line, 2nd and 7. Clark under center. Banks is set in motion to join the receiving corps. Olivet's defense rearranging there. Clark steps back to pass. He'll air one out to Banks on the far side, and it's caught. And he will get the first down and about a yard or two more before being dragged out of bounds by a Comet defender. That was number 17, Riley Laird, there on the tackle. 1st and 10 now on the 27-yard line. That's the first pass there from Tywan Clark this game, and kind of utilizing those short, steady passes early on. We'll have to see if that will change later on in the game or if it will stay put. 1st and 10 on the 27, 11 minutes to go here. Clark with 2 receivers to his left, 1 to his right. He'll set one of them in motion. That'll be Braden Hauer. He'll hand the ball again to Banks. Banks will make some men miss, and he'll get down just before he was about to break out there for maybe, for some more green grass ahead. He will be tripped up just in time, but not enough to prevent a first down there, as it will be a Beaver first down. And my apologies to that was actually number 24, Javon Hudson, on the carry, the 5'9" freshman for Bluffton. He is their primary running back. He's from Bedford, Ohio. And he was there on the carry, kind of utilizing his strength to get past there. 1st and 10 here on the 38. Hudson staying in the ball game, and he'll be the receiver out to the near side. See Nigel Payne there on the far side, the senior receiver. Clark will step back to pass, pressure coming from the defensive line. The pass will just be a little too high there for his intended receiver. That'll be number 11, Cameron Page, sophomore from Detroit, Michigan, and a transfer from Tiffin University. And that will just be a little high. And we've seen that from both quarterbacks last game, whether it was Avila or Nathan Patterson for Madonna. A lot of passes that were just a little too high. That's a common mistake there for quarterbacks. They just get a little excited and the ball ends up just a little out of place. 10:05 left to go. Score still the same, 7-0 Comets. 2nd and 10. Clark will hand it off again to Hudson. Hudson finding a little room on the near side, but gets brought down, and it will be a 3rd down for the Beavers coming up. As the bells here ring at the Cutler Athletic Complex, for every time a 3rd down happens, those bells and that music starts up. Definitely a fun sight here for the fans. They need this 3rd down to kind of continue to build that momentum. Obviously, it's too early in the game for it to be a deal breaker, but it's definitely something to look for. Deshaun Wyckoff and Nigel Page on the left side, both of them looking for their first touch of the game. And you'll find Cam Page across the field for a massive gain, all the way down to the Olivet 30. A massive play there for the Beavers. And it will be now on the 32-yard line for the Beavers. And I was mentioning just Deshaun Wyckoff and Nigel Page as the 2 leading receivers, but they decided to go with another receiving option, Cam Page, again on that play. So they do have some weapons to work with here. 1st and 10 on the 32. Clark again under center. At his hip is Javon Hudson. 2 receivers to his left, 1 to his right, and he will get the handoff. They actually did switch to Jamarian Banks there, my mistake. And he'll get a gain of about 2 yards on the play. So still 2nd down. And Olivet's defense, at least stopping the run, is doing pretty solid. But it was a pass from Taiwan Clark that did get them this far. So the secondary still needing to be vigilant here. 2nd and 9, 8:03 left to go here in the first quarter. 2 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. And Clark will take it himself, run it along the near side. He's still going, and they'll get down at around the 20-yard line. I believe they're going to mark that at the 21. And not enough, and actually I believe it will not be enough for a first down unless they move the chains late, and that's exactly what they do. Now, I think the refs had to discuss that one a little bit. It looked like a first down, but the markers were a little late to update themselves, so it will be a first down. And it will be on the 22-yard line. Another solid run to start this game and to kind of open up the dual threat aspect of things from Taiwan Clark. That's his first rush of the game. Again, Clark is the leading rusher for this team. It's a 1st and 10. They're bringing the receivers close, but they'll still like to pass here. Clark with pressure coming. He scrambles and runs into his own man, and down he goes. Incredible pressure there by the UO defense. I saw one of the defensive line captains, Austin Straub, on that play, definitely making a difference there. And he will be credited there for that tackle for loss, and that'll move them back a ways. And again, we mentioned in pregame that offensive line for Bluffton might be a chance there for UO Olivet to exploit some weaknesses for the Beavers, and we just saw that there already in the opening quarter. We already have a tackle for loss there. And now a 2nd and long for the Beavers. Clark under center. Set a man in motion. That will be Connor Cannon, the tight end. He'll hand the ball off to Jamarian Banks. Jamarian Banks reroutes to the far side. He has some room there. And does get a solid game, but it won't be enough for that first down. It'll definitely make it a little more manageable here for the Beavers, though. So it will be 3rd and medium for Bluffton. As the bells ring out again, they are just inside the red zone here. So they've made their way into that part of the territory. Now it's 5:42 left to go in this game here in the Cutler Athletic Complex. It's a big play here for Olivet. Can they stop Bluffton on this crucial third down? Maybe even if it turns out to be, you know, an extra fourth down opportunity, or even just a kick from Colton Jugovic, it'll still be a good stop if they can get it, and it will be a timeout before the play starts for Bluffton. So we'll have a chance there to talk about the strategy leading up to that third down. So far in this game, Taiwan and Clark 2 for 3 for 36 yards. Again, also tacking on a 2 rushing yards, I should say. Javon Hudson currently leading the rushing stats for the Beavers, 14 yards on 2 carries. And so far for the receiving courts, number 11 Cameron Page, who's been getting most of the yardage so far on his lone reception. He had that big play early on for 27 yards. We have yet to see either of the big receivers for Bluffton, 83 Jayshawn Wyckoff and number 6 Nigel Page. We have yet to see them get their hands on the ball, but that could change here with this third down as they are out of the timeout. Again, 5:25 left to go, and the score is still the same. It's a 3rd and 7 on the 19-yard line. Page and Wyckoff are lined up on the right. Clark will fake the handoff and take it himself to the near side. Clark has some running room. He just needs a block. And he'll get all the way down to the 3-yard line. He fooled almost the entire Olivet defense. Again, you have those receivers lined up on the far side. Clark just kind of goes a different way, and there's a lot of running room on that other side. And if he just needed that one block. And unfortunately for the Beavers, Olivet was there. It's going to be a 1st and goal here on the 4-yard line, but they're still inching closer here to getting their first score of the day. Clark will set a man in motion. That'll be Cam Page. He'll hand it off to Jamarian Banks, who will find his way in. Touchdown, Bluffton. A very solid start for the running game here for Bluffton, as Jamarian Page will find his way to the end zone for the first time today. I'm going to check my stats here really quick, because that also might be the first time. It'll be the 2nd touchdown of the season for Jamarian Banks, number 22 there for the Beavers. And now an extra point here for Colton Jugovic, the kicker and punter for the Beavers. That kick will be up, and it will be good. And it's going to be a tied game now between the Comets and the Beavers, 7-7 with 4:38 left to go here in this first quarter. Bluffton, after that initial drive by the Comets, which was very quick, only getting done in the first 4 or 5 minutes, Bluffton maybe taking their time a little bit more on this drive, still finding their way into the end zone and kind of getting some momentum on their own. So now, Olivet, it's their time to respond. And what will they do here? That is the question. The question indeed for the Comets is both teams now lining up to kick off. There on the offense to return. As we have 4:38 left to go. Vojnovic lining up again for the kickoff. And got a receiver out to return the kick, and it's another high arcing one. He'll be picked up he'll be picked up inside the 10, and the returner is still going. It'll be number 11 for the Comets, Carter Leatherwood. He's still going. Carter Leatherwood dodges several tackles. Look at the strength on this man as he powers his way all the way to the 47-yard line. He started that return inside the 10. And it looked like he was going to be pushed out of bounds at around maybe the 20-25-yard line, but he kept going. The freshman wide receiver. Oh, but we have looked like for a second there was a flag on the play. That play will resume. Guess they were just testing their mics a little bit there. Carter Leatherwood, the freshman wide receiver from Auburn Hills, Michigan, a graduate of Pontiac High School, on the return there. First and 10 for Avila and company as you'll reverse pitch it to one of the runners. That will be 23. That'll be number 23, Admiral Suffrant, the 5'10 freshman again from Orlando, Florida. First time we're seeing him all season. But it will be a loss of yards there for the Comets. They'll be moved back a couple yards. This now will be a 2nd and 13 for the Comets. 3:53 left to go. Avila with 2 receivers to his left, 1 to his right. And he'll hand it off. Runner has some room there. That's Jalen Johnson. And he's just powering his way through. The strength on these Olivet rushers and receivers making that known on this drive as he powers his way through. And that's going to be enough for a first down. And they'll get farther into the to the opponent's territory. So they're on the 41-yard line of Bluffton. Wade Brashears and Noah Bates on the left, and Rashawn Mercier on the right. Jalen Johnson behind Danny Avila. First and 10. He'll hand it off to Johnson. Johnson trying to find some room in the middle again, and he breaks free for a moment. But he'll get brought down to the 30-yard line enough for a Comet first down again. There's definitely some good blocking there by the O-line. And also give credit to the receivers as well, because he is finding some room. And just enough room to get the steady movements again, kind of keeping those chains moving. A very, very similar drive to their last one. Julian Toscano, the starting tight end, now back on the field, and he'll be set in motion. So will Noah Bates. This is on the 29-yard line. Avila will hand the ball to Jalen Johnson again. This time, Bluffton snuffs it out a little sooner, and it will be 2nd down for the Comets. Looks to be just a gain of about 1 yard. So a 2nd and 9 with the clock still ticking with 2 minutes left to go. Can Olivet get a score before the quarter expires? And Bluffton's defensive line and their linebackers they need to do a better job at just kind of predicting these plays a little more. 2 receivers on either side of Avila. And he will elect to pass with pressure coming. A lot of time to survey the field, and he will throw it out of bounds. And it will be an incompletion for Danny Avila. 3rd and 9 coming up for the Comets. Avila, again, he had some time to throw that. Definitely more time than he's had on previous plays, especially some of the plays against Madonna. He just couldn't find any answers downfield. The trio of receivers, Brashears, Bates, and Mercier, will be back out. And Dorian Freeman for the Comets in at running back. 3rd and 9. Avila will go back, pressure coming. He'll air it to the near side, and it's caught by Noah Bates. Touchdown, Comets. Noah Bates on a 1v1 against the defensive back for Bluffton. Beats him out. And it will be another Comet touchdown. Might have been a bit of a risky pass on the surface, but you can tell Danny Avila, he trusted Noah Bates to get that ball. And that he did. We're seeing a lot more of his presence today. Bates, the sophomore receiver from Rochester Hills, we're seeing him a lot more in this game and seeing how dynamic he can be as well. Saw a lot of Brashears and Mercier. Now we're seeing more of the diversity here for the Comets. As the extra point here for Angel Potter, up and good. And the Comets respond to the drive from Bluffton with almost, I wouldn't say identical, but a very similar drive to their first one. They're getting downfield quickly and getting the job done so far on offense. Coach Jeter has to be pleased with what he's seeing so far. Again, definitely a much different story than the start to Madonna, where Madonna was the team that was fiercely in control early on. But it turns out to be the Comets this time so far with the momentum. Now it's up to them to just not take their foot off the gas and to have that same energy and that same success on the defensive end Because Bluffton, even though Bluffton's down right now, they've still been making some good progress themselves. And they still have a minute 32 here in this first quarter to make something happen. As we get set to kick off here, again for Bluffton, returning number 4, Trey Cummings out there also, Jamarian Banks, the running back that got the touchdown for the Beavers. And Potter walking up to the ball, and the kick is up. And that's a kick that looks a lot like a lot of the kicks that he made against Madonna. And it will be returned by Trey Cummings. Cummings finding some room on the near side. Some big hits bringing him down, though. He will make it to around the 30-yard line. And that's where Bluffton will begin their drive. Now, I mentioned that I said that that kick from Angel Potter is like a lot of the kicks he did against Madonna. Not quite, though, because pretty much all of Angel Potter's kicks last week sailed out of bounds. Only one of them actually were returned, but this time, a bit of a different story. Both of them have been returned so far. And here's the Beavers now, with 1:26 left to go. Tywan Clark back out there, leading his offense. He'll hand the ball off to Javon Hudson, and he will be brought down quickly. Big defensive play. Dontrell Thomas. Actually, mistake there. That was actually Javon Peterson, one of the linebackers. Freshman there for the Comets. It's from another Florida player from Deltona, Florida. And it'll be a minute now under a minute for the Beavers here in this first quarter. A 2nd and 12 after that loss there. Hudson's still out there at running back. And Clark still under center. He will elect to pass this time with pressure coming rapidly. And he fumbles the football. Who has the football? It was stripped right from behind him. Who has control of the football? And it will be Bluffton on the recovery. Almost a catastrophe there for the Beavers. Again, like one of the defensive players for Olivet just snuck up right behind Tywan Clark and just stripped the ball from his hands. And if that was recovered by the Comets, that would have been in pretty good field position. And it looks like with the time running out here, they're just going to let that first quarter expire. And it will be officially the end of the first quarter. The score, Olivet 14, Bluffton 7. Definitely a better start for the Comets, especially if you're Coach Scheider. And also the coaches that are right next to me here in the press box. A lot of anger coming from them last week, especially with a lot of miscues and a lot of errors coming the Comets' way. This is a much better start. I can't say that enough for the Comets. And if you're Bluffton, you know, the momentum, you still have some momentum, but you can't be making those mistakes. You have to be vigilant. You have to make sure that you are not only, if you're the O-lineman, again, protecting your quarterback. Especially after that play, you got to make sure to have that protection for him so that doesn't happen again. But also, you just got to be careful with the football in general. So far in this game, Daniel Avila 3 for 4, 56 yards, leading that drive there for the Comets. So far with the rest of the stats here, in terms of total yards, Olivet this time with the advantage, 107 to 83. Still pretty close though. And Bluffton has already been sacked twice. So last game they were sacked 6 times by Albion and already 2 just in that first quarter. Now the start of the second. 3rd and 13 on the 27. Let's see what Clark and company can do. They'll drop back to pass again. They'll air one out across the middle of the field, and it's overshot. Almost landing in the hands of Christian McMillan for the Comets. It was intended for Cameron Page, really utilizing him a lot more, and the Comets will get the stop on that one. A 3 and out for the Beavers. And you could definitely see the Olivet faithful definitely happy about that outcome. As it will be Colton Jugovic kicking off. And we'll have a Comet out to return. Again, it's just in the opening seconds here of the second quarter. Again, the score, Olivet 14, Bluffton 7. As they'll receive the kick. Kick will bounce around to the 30-yard line, and that's exactly where it will be eventually picked up. It will go to the 29, actually, before it is picked up by the Beavers. Another really high arcing kick that definitely got some airtime there from the kicker for Bluffton, Colton Yugovich. And Comets will now set up shop again, and what they need to look for is just to, again, not to lose momentum, not to lessen up at all, just to keep putting points on the board, keep gaining yards. That's exactly what they should be focused on in this drive, especially with the defensive stop that they got there. 1st and 10 on the 29 for the Comets at running back Dorian Freeman behind Avila. Ami Suffren set in motion, and they will hand it off to Dorian Freeman, but it won't really go anywhere. It will be 2nd down, a loss of about 1 yard on that play, actually, so the Bluffton defensive line definitely prepared for that one as the time keeps on ticking here in the second quarter. 2nd and 11 coming up for the Comets. We're now seeing Ami Suffren. I misread his name as Admiral first, but it's Ami Suffren, one of the freshman wide receivers, now getting some more playing time. Mercier set in motion, and Avila will look to pass. He's looking across the field. He'll get Mercier across the field, getting him right in the middle as he was doing a slant. And it will be completed for a 3rd and medium coming up. It'll be 3rd and 5, a gain of 6 on the play. And they'll hurry up here, and wasting no time at all on this play clock. They'll trying to catch Bluffton off guard here. They are wasting no time. We already saw with their first 2 drives how quickly they went down the field, and definitely seeing that now on this third down. So can Bluffton also cause the Comets to go 3 and out here? Avila will fire across the middle, and another completed pass to Rashawn Mercier. Almost same exact route, just different sides of the field, and it will be enough for a Comet 1st down. Rashawn Mercier with, again, some of these steady gains. Good awareness also by Danny Avila. He hasn't had a lot of incompletions so far this game. So he's making smart decisions, and even the riskier decisions he has made has paid out for him. 2 receivers, one on either side of Avila. And one of them, Suffren, will be set in motion. The ball will be handed off to Dorian Freeman, number 24 for the Comets. And you'll get a gain of about 2 or 3 on the carry. They'll set up a 2nd down. They're using Freeman a little more this game. And, I mean, because mainly they typically have gone with Jalen Johnson. They've typically gone with Jalen Johnson for the running game, but they're kind of using a little more of a variety here. There's Gabriel Cavazos on the tackle for Bluffton, one of their defensive linemen to watch. Avila will pitch it to Dorian Freeman, and Freeman has some room around the middle. Freeman's bouncing around the field and will eventually be brought down just before the Bluffton 40-yard line. So that will be a gain of about almost 20 there. As that was definitely some good momentum there going for the Comets. As I mentioned, Dorian Freeman really making his presence known in this game so far. Toscano, tight end, set in motion, 3 receivers. All field out for the Comets. Mercier moved to the far side. Avila will drop back to pass. He's looking deep again, and it's intercepted. Picked off there by Bluffton. That will be number 13, Nolan Mills, as he's wrestled out of the end zone, and he'll get to around the 50-yard line. He was looking, I believe he was looking for Mercier on that throw. And right as I said, Danny Avila was making some smart decisions. That clearly was an exception. As that will be, he didn't throw an interception in the last game against Madonna. That will be his third of the season. And Bluffton now with the ball back at the Olivet 49-yard line. And now they have a chance to improve upon their last drive and get some points on the board to tie the Comets. Setting a man in motion, that's Cameron Page. Clark will hand it off. Clark will hand it off to Jamarian Banks. Won't get enough for a first down, but he will get definitely a solid game of about 7 or 8. That will be a second down for Bluffton. That was only Avila's second incompletion of the entire game. So far, he's been doing relatively well in terms of keeping it accurate, 5 for 7 so far. But unlike the last game, they have been running a little more. And we have an injured Beaver on the field here. And we have the training staff attending to them as both teams return to their sidelines. I believe that is number 62 for Bluffton, Samuel St. Fort, as he, after getting shook up a little bit, is now on his feet and walking back to the sideline. And once play resumes here, it will be a 2nd and 3 on the 42-yard line for Bluffton, and a 10:41 left to go in this second quarter. Jamarian Banks getting a lot more touches than his other running counterpart, Javon Hudson, but it looks like there's definitely some opportunities for him to get more touches later on. 2 receivers to Clark's left, 1 to his right. Page set in motion again, and he will hand it off to Banks. Banks finding some room up the middle. Jamarian Banks will get in definitely enough for a first down and about 10 yards more. And Olivet having some issues having some issues containing the running game so far in this drive, especially for Bluffton. But again, we have another Beaver down. And oh man, that is Derek Moore. That is the biggest lineman they have. 6'5", 320 pounds from Cincinnati, Ohio, and he is currently down. Two Beavers down on back-to-back plays, and those are two linemen as well. And again, both sides are returning to their sideline, but again, unfortunately, Derek Moore will also get up and walk back to the sideline. So both Derek Moore and Samuel St. Fort able to walk off after getting injured there. 10:08 left to go in this second quarter. Say 1st and 10 on the 29-yard line of Olivet. As the clock continues to tick again, Clark under center. 2 receivers to his left, 1 to his right. The lone one on the right is Jyshawn Wyckoff. He has yet to have a reception in this game so far. Clark will fake the handoff and will take it himself off the far side. He's got some blockers, but will get out right around the 1st-yard marker. And waiting on the ruling here, the chains are moving for a first down for Bluffton. Again, it's been helpful for Bluffton on those plays where that Clark has just been able to just seamlessly fake the handoff there and take it himself, because as I mentioned in pregame, he definitely has the mobility, and we've been seeing that so far in this game. Again, he's the team's leading rusher. 9:19 left to go in this second quarter. Score's still the same, 14-7, Comets leading. 1st and 10 on this 19-yard line. Clark again will take it himself, this time going to the near side. Clark has some blockers, but he won't be able to get very far, and that will be on the tackle there for the Comets. Number 2, Bakari Fields. And that will be enough for a gain of 5 or 6. But it still is going to be a second down for the Beavers of Bluffton. And that'll definitely Tywan Clark with this drive, definitely getting his rushing statistics up with this one. And he still only has 4 passing attempts so far in this game. They have also rushed the ball much more. It's now 2nd and 5 on the 14. He'll set a man in motion. It'll be Cameron Page. And he will hand the ball off to Jamarian Banks. Banks has some room on the far side, but he gets tripped up right before that first down marker. And on the tackle there for Olivet, that will be Riley Laird, number 17. It's not his first tackle of the game. He's been pretty active for that Olivet secondary. Definitely a good thing you want to hear if you are an Olivet fan. You want to be hearing good things about your secondary, not bad things like last week. Third and 2 now with 7:52 left to go. Just under 8 minutes here. And Clark again under center. And again, he will take it himself, and he has some room. Clark finds an opening, and that's a touchdown for Bluffton. He got just enough blocks. And just like that Jalen Johnson touchdown earlier for Olivet, that was their first score. He just found that gap and just went right in. And again, using that mobility. And that will be yet another rushing touchdown for the season for Tywan Clark. Definitely, that's his 3rd, actually, of the season. So only 1 less passing touchdown. Because, again, there have been no passing touchdowns so far for Bluffton, as the kick for Jugovic up and good. And it will be yet again a tied game here. It's now 14-14 between the Comets and the Beavers. Let's go look at these stats so far again as we have the time. So far, Olivet has converted on all of their 3rd downs. And for Bluffton, they've had a lot more opportunities for those 3rd downs. They've only failed to convert on one of them. That was on that previous play. And what set up this drive, again, if you are just tuning in, it was that interception from Danny Avila that set Bluffton up for that one. And even though their drives have definitely been taken a lot longer, maybe that's why they led Albion in time of possession last week. Even though they've been taking their time and all that, they've been getting downfield, and they've still been scoring. It's a very incredibly competitive ball game. And whether you're a fan of either team, it's pretty interesting to watch. See the Bluffton sidelines across the field. They're in good spirits as we get set here for kickoff. Jugovic will kick off here for Bluffton once again. He's their kicker and punter. And it'll be Carter Leatherwood again for the return. They'll try to go to the far side, try to get some blocks there, but to no avail. He'll be brought down at the 19-yard line. And that's exactly where the Comets will set up shop. When it comes to both receiving and returning, as the season goes on, they're definitely utilizing some more weapons. I think Coach Yeder's definitely trying to cycle through a lot of these new guys to each get them experience, and maybe some of the recent losses have also have sparked the motivation for that as well. Avila and company back out here. They got Ramel Frank in at running back as they have 4 receivers out on the field to start this drive. It'll be 1st and 10 on the 22-yard line. Avila will look at the snap, and he will elect to pass. Dropping back, he'll roll out to the far side, motioning his receiver to go deep, and it sails out of bounds. It'll be 2nd and 10 after Avila's 3rd incompletion of the night, of the day, I should say. It's not night. What am I saying? In terms of passing, Olivet has still been passing more and has been passing more effectively, as they have 69 net yards in passing. If you're an Olivet fan, you got to be thinking that's pretty nice. 2nd and 10 with a 7:27 left to go here. Again, the score 14-14. It's a tied ball game. Avila will drop back again, but pressure comes immediately, and the ball is loose. And the ball is loose, and it's picked up by Bluffton, and it will be a touchdown for the Beavers. A fumble, a massive hit from Damari Wright, the 6'4" lineman, And it is a scoop and score. And it will be a touchdown for the Beavers. Unbelievable. What a play by the Bluffton defense. And it literally, the ball rolled out several yards to the far side, and it was picked up for that good old-fashioned scoop and score. Unbelievable. And Bluffton, just like that, 14 points unanswered. Kind of mimicking what they did a little bit against Albion with 29 points unanswered in the second half. And just like that, their first lead of the game. The Beavers are on top, but there's still time. Still time in this second quarter, as we are technically just past that halfway point. But man, that was devastating if you were Olivet. Definitely making good progress on that drive, and that was just such a big hit. Such a big hit that the ball just popped out. It wasn't even stripped. It was just such a forceful hit. For those who are familiar with Madden, that's a hit stick right there. And it was a scoop and score for the touchdown. I believe that was Damari Wright, as I said, on the forced fumble. We're still getting info as to who the scoop and score was. I believe that could have possibly been another defensive lineman or what have you. It will be Maxwell Moore, one of the defensive linemen, number 93 with that score, the 6'4" defensive lineman from Chagrin Falls, Ohio. So two D linemen pairing up on that scoop and score, and now the kickoff up, and it will be returned in the end zone here for Carter Leatherwood. Leatherwood has some room on the near side, making some miss. Leatherwood has some room. He'll get all the way just before the 50-yard line. And that'll be a play that'll wake up this Olivet fan base. Carter Leatherwood, one of his first collegiate appearances, definitely making it known that he's one of those elite returners, I should say, for Olivet. And ball will be on the 47-yard line now as the crew returns for Olivet. Again, when it comes to being, more careful with the football, that's going to be paramount for this drive. Jalen Johnson now back out for the running corner. Avila will fake the handoff and will get a quick pass to Sean Mercier. He'll be knocked out of bounds at around the 45-yard line. That was a quick pass. And kind of owing to that theme where Olivet's just really playing a fast-paced game here. It'll be a gain of 7 yards specifically, and that will be a 2nd and 3. Sean Mercier seeing him again on that reception. 2nd and 3 for the Comets. Avila, receiver on either side. He'll fake the handoff again to Johnson, airing it deep, and he must have been some miscommunication there. Maybe expecting one of his receivers to be deep out in the field. It was intended, it looked like, for Julian Toscano, the tight end, but it didn't look like it was going to be a thing there. Bates and Brashears on the right side, and Mercier on the left side for this 3rd and 3. Crucial third down here for the Comets. Johnson behind him. Could have been an offside there from Bluffton's defense, but no flag called. You haven't seen a lot of penalty markers here in this game so far. Both teams playing a clean game. Avila looking to the near side, and he has Noah Bates for the completed pass. That will be enough for a Comet first down, as Bates will get out at around the 36-yard line. Again, we're just seeing him more. He is really taking charge here in this game, leading the receiving corps after not getting a lot of reps in the past 2 games. We've only seen 1 reception from Wade Brashears, and it's really been between Bates and Mercier. Bates with 53 yards, Mercier with 20, both with 3 receptions. Bates with a touchdown too. That trio out on the left side for this first down. Avila will fake the handoff and has some room on the far side. Daniel Avila fools the defense of Bluffton and will get enough for the first down there. Kind of taking some notes from Tywan Clark apparently there on that play. That's, as I mentioned in the Bluffton offensive drives, though, those fake handoffs and turning into QB runs definitely working. Seems like for both sides now. And definitely with his mobility, Tywan Clark making it seem very easy. And so did Avila there on that play. 1st and 10 on the 19. Avila this time will elect to pass. And it'll be completed to Noah Bates again on that far side. They're inching away closer and closer to the end zone. They're well within the red zone, so that's within the 20-yard line. And Toscano will be sent out after a couple plays in. And it will be now with 5 minutes left to go. Bluffton again still leading 21-14. Olivet inching closer to the end zone. Olivet now has 2 running backs out there, Ramel Frank and Jalen Johnson. The trio of receivers still the same. Avila under center will roll out to his left, looking for the end zone, looking for Noah Bates, but it just wasn't right. And it will be ruled incomplete. It looked like he had it, but also to me from that angle looked again a little overthrown. So it will be 3rd and 4. It's manageable, even if they do go for it on 4th down. It's still also manageable. And if you're Coach Yiter and the staff, you got to ask yourselves: is it worth the risk to go for it here? But they won't have to worry about that here if they convert on this 3rd and 4 with 4:40 left to go. A lot of 4s I just said there. It's also 4 in Olivet's score, being 21-14. Bluffton leading. 4 receivers out there for Olivet. Avila will find, across the middle, will find Ami Suffrant. And it will just be, it won't be enough for a touchdown, but it will be enough to get them within the 5-yard line. As yeah, we're seeing that freshman receiver a lot more now. Ami Suffrant, from Orlando, Florida, graduate of Oak Ridge High School. He's there on that slant. That is his first reception. He was there on another running play and has been kind of active elsewhere on the field, but first time we're seeing him catch a pass for the Comets. Mercier and Bates. But they'll like to hand it off, and that will be a Comet touchdown. Ramel Frank on the handoff there for the Comets, and once again, they're utilizing the run game here. That is their 2nd rushing touchdown on Ramel Frank's first carry of the game. Again, we've seen him be used in other offensive schemes, but we haven't actually seen him touch the ball, and we just did there. And the end of that run was him basking in the glory of that red and white end zone as the extra point from Angel Potter good. And Olivet, after an embarrassing end to that other drive, answers back. And momentum a little bit back on their side now as they are now back to being tied with Bluffton 21-21. Definitely, as I mentioned earlier, a very, very competitive game so far. And we're now under 4 minutes to go here in this 2nd quarter. Now, for those of you who are listening on the Athletics live stream, because WOCR also not only being broadcasted over our radio frequency, but also over our website, which you can go to at WOCR891FM.com. Great stuff there. If you're listening to the Athletics live stream, though, we will be taking a break right after the end of the 2nd quarter, so you can hear the wonderful music from the U Olivet Marching Band. And then we'll use that opportunity to take a station break, and we'll be back afterwards for the start of the 2nd half. But we still got 4 minutes until that's a reality as Potter end zone sails into the back of the end zone. That's the first time that has been the case this game. And you know, I mentioned at the start of this game that when it was against Madonna last week, pretty much all of Angel Potter's kicks went to the back of the end zone. And because you just put a lot of mustard behind those kicks. But this was the first one of this game that also was like that too. And now with 4 minutes left to go in this 2nd quarter, Bluffton now with the chance to respond, to put them to unlike last week, make sure they're up at the half. As the ball carrier there for Bluffton will get a gain of about 3 yards there. And on the carry there, that was Javon Hudson. So it'll be a 2nd and 6 coming up. Again, they're starting their drive with more of a running-oriented attack here. But they still have their 2 main receivers, Nigel Payne and Jashawn Wyckoff, have still not gotten a reception so far this game as Page is set in motion. Frank will hand it off to Javon Hudson again. He'll get a gain of about 2 or 3 yards on that carry. Enough for a 3rd and short. It'll be 3rd and 2 specifically, with 3:07 left to go in this second quarter. As I was mentioning, though, they've only completed 2 passes this entire half so far. I'm not going to say it's going to be like that for the rest of the half, but so far, and the only two completed passes, and those were both to Jamarian Banks, one of the running backs, and Cameron Page. It's going to be interesting to see if they utilize either one of Payne or Wyckoff here on the rest of this drive. 3rd and 2 on the 33. Clark will step back, but he's sacked again. Another stop by the Olivet's defensive line, and there on the sack for the Comets, that'll be Dontrell Thomas, the sophomore from Clinton Township and the graduate of Clintondale High School. Massive stop for the Comets, and the 3rd sack from the third sack of Frank, and the 3rd sack from Olivet's defensive line. And if kind of like what I said after that other sack they had earlier in the half, Tywan Clark was sacked 6 times against Albion, and already he's been brought down 3. Bluffton's offensive line proving so far to be one of their big Achilles heels. And it kind of just looks to me like that O-line problem is kind of occurring for them. However, though, it's clearly not as big of a deal to put them out of reach for this game, as they, of course, like Olivet, are tied and still win it. As currently we are underway with that 2-minute timeout, and that's always a timeout at the end of the 2nd and 4th quarters. So the end of the halves always have this timeout here. So both teams get a chance to again talk about what they want to do for those final 2 minutes. Also, the refs get a chance to talk about things that matter to them. It's a little sunny day here at Olivet, as after some initial cloud coverage here, sun's back out again. And for the Comets, returning the kick from Colton Jugovic will be number 6, Christian McMillan, one of the defensive backs for the Comets. He has been used as a returner before. And Jugovic set to get the kick underway, and it is another high arcing one. And McMillan will get it around the 33-yard line, and he uses the little room he has to get to the 45. And that's exactly where the Comets will set up shop with 1:51 left to go in the second quarter. Can they use their fast-paced approach to march down the field and get up at the half? Or will Bluffton stop them again and maybe even, again, get some points on their side? Those are the questions that we'll be thinking about throughout this drive. As they got 4 receivers out there for the Comets, and Jalen Johnson at the hip of Danny Avila. Wade Brashear set in motion, and they'll look back to pass, and it'll be a quick pass to the near side to Rashawn Mercier, but it will fall incomplete. It just seemed a little too low. And it will be, after a quick first down, it will be 2nd and 10 coming up. 1:48 left to go as the Olivet marching band can be seen across the field getting ready for their halftime performance. Again, if you're listening to the Athletics live stream, you will be able to hear that after the conclusion of this half. Avila, again with those 4 receivers out there. He'll run out to the far side, his left. He'll fire a pass, and it will be ruled. Regardless, there will be a flag on the play. Refs will discuss what this is. This is the first one we have seen all game, which, especially if you listened to that or was here for that game last week, is a bit of a relief. And it will be penalty on the defense. And it will be a first down because of that for the Comets. So they'll be getting some assistance with the mess up from Bluffton to march down the field a little bit. It definitely looked like there was some contact on that pass, which was intended. It was intended for Noah Bates. It fell incomplete, and that call was pass interference by Damari Bailey for the Beavers. First and 10 on the 44. Avila stepping back, has a lot of time. He's looking deep. Instead, he'll take it himself, and will get sacked, and the ball pops out again. The ball pops out again as Danny Avila was rushing out to the near side trying to look deep, and that is the second time he has fumbled the football. Not what you want again if you're the Comets, as it was another massive hit from the defensive line of Bluffton, forcing a second fumble. If you're Danny Avila, you're definitely going to get some words about those plays. Now Bluffton, with 1:33, has a chance to put some points on the board. It wasn't a scoop and score like last time, but they still have the ball. Now Tywan Clark faking the handoff, but pressure's coming himself, and he will be wrapped up. He will be wrapped up to start this drive, and it will be a big loss. Riley Laird, the defensive back, the sophomore from Sherwood, Michigan. Not only has he gotten some key tackles so far in this half, but a big sack, a big tackle for loss there for the Comets. A loss of 9 with a minute left to go, the 4th time that Tywan Clark has been sacked. And it's going to be a tough second down with less than a minute left to go for the Bluffton offense. 2 receivers to his left and one to his right. He will head it off to Jamarian Banks. Banks with some room, and he's still going. Not a first down, but they will make up for that loss of yards. It will be a 3rd down and about 6. And the clock is still ticking here, so we're approaching the final plays of this half, and Bluffton's not wasting any time. They want to get down the field and score. 24 seconds left to go now. 21-21 still the score. And they'll just keep it on the ground here. Jamarian Banks again with the running, but the ball is out again! And it will be a recovered fumble by Olivet! Again with the big play for the Comets, Dontrell Thomas. What a recovery there! And that's going to be another fumble in this game. We just saw 2 fumbles in the course of a minute. And just like that, Olivet will now have 1 or 2 more chances, depending on how they play the clock, to get back out there and score. What looked like another blown opportunity, now it's another opportunity, thanks to their defense. Javon Peterson was actually the one on that recovery. Avila now dropping back. They're looking for a big play here. And this time he'll just run it as he gets past the line of scrimmage. But Avila has some running room. He'll get the Comet first down and a little more. And it will be a timeout for Olivet. Their first spent. Again, it's what I said. It's how they play the clock will determine how much time they will have and how many plays they'll be able to get off. Savon Gatlin on the tackle there for Bluffton, one of the defensive linemen that I had to watch out for. 5 seconds remaining as Olivet using this time to figure out what they are going to cook up for this play, which most likely would be the final play of the half. And they'll find themselves in the territory of Bluffton. So the 43-yard line is where the ball currently lies. And Avila there on that last play, he looked like he was just trying to find an answer downfield. Again, it's the experience from Bluffton's secondary and their linebackers that's really making passing difficult for Olivet. And we already saw that with the Avila interception earlier. And right there, he just tried to scramble and throw, but he was already past the line of scrimmage, so he just went with it. But it turned out to be a gain of 12. So it didn't matter anyway. Now with 5 seconds left, a big play. 1st and 10 with 4 defensive backs deep for Bluffton. A lot of time here for Avila. Avila evades the tackle, evades the sack, and there's another one. He's wrestling with another defensive lineman, and it will be that time where Avila is brought down. There was several defensive linemen. This time it was for Bluffton. It was Savon Gatlin with that sack there. And that will be the end of the first half here. The score is tied. Olivet and Bluffton are at 21 apiece as the UO marching band is getting set here to take the field. Really quick here. Bluffton's been passing the ball, or Bluffton's been rushing the ball.
Please welcome to the field your 2025 Marching Comets. Today, the Marching Comets invite you to join them in a historical look at Detroit's own Motown sound. In the 1960s, the Motown record label developed a style of soul music with a mainstream pop influence, which propelled it to the top of the charts. We start our show with some of the most iconic groups of the Motown era: the Temptations, Martha and the Vandellas, Supremes, and the Four Tops. So please welcome drum major Ian Helzer as he leads the band through the early years of the legendary sound of Motown. Jackson. The Jackson Five was signed to Motown Records from 1969 to 1975. During this time, they achieved huge success and became one of the label's most popular groups. Today, we present 3 of their greatest hits, I'll Be There, I Want You Back, and ABC, featuring trumpet soloist Roderick Yelby. Stevie Wonder is one of the most prominent artists associated with Motown. He signed with Motown at the age of 11, initially performing under the name of Little Stevie Wonder. Today, the Marching Comets are pleased to present 2 of his timeless hits, Sir Duke and Superstition, featuring flute soloist Abby Kruger. Let's make some noise for your Marching Comets. The Marching Comets are under the field direction of Ian Helzer and under the direction of Mr. Evan Lewis. Color guard was designed and instructed by Shar Reeves. Percussion composed and instructed by Brendan Benton. Thank you to the University of Olivet community for your continued support of our Marching Comets.
And welcome back to your source for local sports, WOCR 89.1. The marching band just got off the field with their wonderful performance. If you were tuning into our athletics live stream, you were able to listen to that one. But we are currently at the halftime break here between Olivet and Bluffton with about 10 minutes to go until the second half starts. I just have the halftime stats right here in front of me. Again, if you are just tuning in, or if you were tuning in and out throughout the game, the score is tied. Olivet and Bluffton are tied at 21 apiece. It's been a lot of scoring both ways. Currently, for some of these other stats here, Olivet has been, pretty active on both the passing and running front. Olivet with 105 passing yards, all of them coming from starting quarterback Daniel Avila, who has gone 9 for 15 with 105 yards with a touchdown and an interception. However, 2 fumbles as well, both coming in pretty much the exact same manner. And if you're Olivet, one of the things I mentioned about before is that you really need to work on playing a cleaner game because the fact that that's just something that can really demoralize you and something that can really ruin momentum. So that's something that definitely they need to work on as well. And whether it's Avila having troubles holding the football or if it's just because the hits have been so big that it's literally forced the ball out of his hands, whichever one is true, somebody needs to work on something there. But regardless, they have been very efficient over the air aside from that. When it comes to rushing, however, a bit of a different story though. Olivet, again, typically, as usual, they have more passing yards than rushing yards typically, because of the fact that they typically pass the ball so much more than rushing. That's exactly why I have that as one of my storylines for the Olivet season, is because that's not typically what they've done in the past. This game, however, they have rushed the ball more, actually. It's, basically it's pretty balanced. It's 16 rushing attempts to 15 passing attempts, but it's still something very much of note. Before this game, the only rushing touchdown that Olivet had came from Danny Avila. It came from his rushing touchdown against Madonna. However, in this game, 2 running backs have gotten rushing touchdowns. Jalen Johnson got a touchdown to start off the game in the first quarter, and then Ramel Frank, in his first touch in the game, and only touch, had a 1-yard gain for a touchdown as well. They've also seen some production from Danny Avila himself, but also from Dorian Freeman too. For Bluffton, however, a bit of a different story. There have only been 4 passing attempts from the Beavers. Typically, their attempt their offensive scheme is a lot more balanced typically, but at the same time, just this game it's been a lot more run heavy. So that's definitely something there as well. So far, he's only gone 2 for 4 for passing, 36 yards, and he's been sacked 4 times. Again, something that has been mentioned throughout the broadcast is the fact that the Bluffton offensive line is having some issues with protecting their quarterback, and that's something that is certainly not something that's certainly not ending with this game so far. However, I will say though that Danny Avila, with the 2 fumbles as well, counting as sacks, he's been sacked 3 times himself. So also something that Olivet needs to clean up as well. But for rushing for Bluffton, Tywan Clark had a rushing touchdown at the start of the second quarter, and Jamarian Banks, sometime in the first quarter, also had a run himself. Jamarian Banks has rushed for 54 yards, and Tywan Clark with 28 so far. We've also seen some action from Javon Hudson as well. When it comes to the receiving core, their 2 main receivers, as has been mentioned throughout the broadcast, have gotten 0 touches, and I believe only one of them has even gotten a singular target. For Bluffton, that is Deshaun Wyckoff and Nigel Payne. May I remind you here of the stats from Bluffton and how important these players really are to their offense. Deshaun Wyckoff, who is a true freshman, by the way, has already 197 receiving yards in the season. Nigel Payne, the senior, the third-year starter, with 160 on the season as well, and they both played a big role in that close game against Albion, and of course in their win earlier in the season as well. So it really is kind of shocking to me, especially since I did expect Bluffton to pass a little more, and I'm just kind of surprised that they haven't gone to those weapons at all either. I'm not sure if that would be owing to the Olivet secondary or if that's just owing to their overall scheme and plan for the game. I would kind of bet on the latter if it was me. Cameron Page and the running back Jamarian Banks have both gotten the lone receptions. Page is going for 27 yards, kind of the big play that kind of sparked the momentum originally for Bluffton, and then Jamarian Banks on that other passing attempt as well. When it comes to the defensive side of things for Olivet, it's mainly been led by Christian McMillan, the defensive back, who we've also seen doing the punt returns as well. He's gotten 6 tackles so far in this game. Riley Laird has really been kind of maybe an unknown name from some of the stat sheets and all that, but somebody who's made a big impact in this game. He's one of the defensive backs, not only with 4 tackles in this game so far, but also one of the 2 sacks additionally. Charles Anderson, one of the defensive linemen, with 2 tackles, and also Austin Straub with 2 tackles and a sack as well. When it comes to the defensive side for Bluffton, however, kind of more of an even spread here. Brandon Resnover is one of the safeties for Bluffton, one of the players that I really identified as somebody to watch out for. Has 5 total tackles so far. And then Savon Gatlin, Mason Brandon, and Devin Hogan. Gatlin being a defensive lineman, and then Hogan and Brandon being linebackers, all have 4 apiece. Gatlin with a sack of his own, and then him and Devin Hogan teaming up for a tackle for loss there too. So definitely some good defensive action. Of course, some of them also definitely playing a part in forcing some of those fumbles that we've seen. So definitely some things to watch out for there if you're Olivet. You just got to be careful with the football, and if you're the offensive line too, you got to protect a little more there. Let's get a quick recap here as to the scoring drive so far and how that has gone for each team here. Kind of in chronological order here. We're starting off with the first score. That was a Jalen Johnson 14-yard run to put the Comets ahead 7-0. About 8 minutes later, Bluffton responds with a run of their own from Jamarian Banks. That goes for 4 yards and for a 7-7 tie, the result of that play. We followed that up with Olivet kind of having the momentum exiting the first quarter with a pass from Avila to Noah Bates, resulting in a touchdown there. That was a 28-yard pass. But Bluffton opens that second quarter with a bang because they not only get a 11-yard run from quarterback Tywan Clark to tie the game up, but there was a massive fumble from Danny Avila in the second quarter. Literally, I'm not joking, literally 21 seconds later, Maxwell Moore, the defensive lineman there, with a 7-yard fumble recovery, getting Bluffton ahead there. But later in that quarter, Ramel Frank with that 1-yard run, setting the Comets up to tie that game and That's exactly what they do. There were a couple of fumbles late in that second quarter that put either team and both teams in the position to get a final score, but none ended up doing so, resulting in the tie game still being a factor here. When it comes to other stats, both teams have fumbled the ball twice. Just the difference that Olivet not only has lost both of those fumbles, but one of them also resulting in a scoop and score, as was mentioned. Bluffton also has an interception under their belt as well, which is the third interception for Danny Avila all season. Olivet has not punted the ball one time so far this game. The punts have only come from Bluffton. And also the lone penalty in this game has come from Bluffton. Olivet certainly doing a much better job at playing the game the right way, as Coach Scheider would say. Also, Bluffton definitely leading still in the possession time there, leading 16 minutes to 14 minutes approximately. They're taking a lot more time with their drives, and also their forward motions just a little slower in general. Olivet's making sure to play a high-tempo game. And then finally, both teams have scored on both of their red zone chances, and I think definitely a stat kind of to note here. Bluffton University is 50% on their third down conversions there, 3 for 6. Olivet, 4 for 4, 100% on their third down conversions. So they've really been very effective in terms of making sure that they get those big plays covered there and they advance the chains. Well, the clock has been reset here, and we're getting ready to kick off for yet another half of football. Because Olivet returned the first kick, it will be Bluffton now going back to receive. Out there to receive for Bluffton will be number 4, Trey Cummings. We've seen him return another kick return earlier for 15 yards. Also back there for Bluffton as well, we have number 22, one of the running backs, Jamarian Banks, is the returner there too. So they have a couple of those guys back there, and also Angel Potter, of course, the kicker for Olivet. As we get set to kick off here in the second half, Potter's kick is up, and we are underway here. Another high-arcing one will be falling out of bounds to the near side, and of course a flag drawn there because of the fact the kick sailed out of bounds. The ball rolled out at around the 9-yard line, but in terms of placement of the ball, that will not matter. So the penalty will go on for Olivet there, and it will be first down for Bluffton at, it looks like, the 35-yard line. A new, fresh 15 here for the Beavers. Tywan Clark and company back out here, and they're trying to open this second half with a score that'll put them back on top here. Wyckoff and Payne on the right side, and Javon Hudson behind Frank. Clark will roll out to his left, and a pass will be completed to Connor Cannon. Connor Cannon still going down the field, and man, was that a good first play or what for Bluffton, as Clark fakes the handoff, rolls out to the far side, and he has the tight end there, Connor Cannon, the senior from New Haven, Indiana, with his first reception of the game. And just like that, Bluffton finds themselves in Olivet territory. 1st and 10 here now on the 38-yard line. The opening minute still here for this game. Clark under center will fake the handoff again. He's looking again to that far side. This time he'll just take it himself. He won't find anything downfield, and he'll run out of bounds at around the 35-yard line, so he'll get a gain of about 3 or 4 on the play. They're going to rule that. Actually, they're going to rule that as a gain of 2 on the play. So it'll be second down for the Beavers. Definitely, they're utilizing some of the trickery here early on, especially a little more than they did in that first half. We're seeing Tywan Clark pulling some tricks out of his sleeve so far in this half. 2nd and 8 on the 36. Cameron Page set in motion again. The ball this time will be handed off to Jamarian Banks. Banks has some room on the near side, and he's brought down by Javon Peterson. I got it right this time. The 4 and the 9s for Olivet's jerseys, a little confusing at times, but this time I got it. Javon Peterson a freshman for the Comets, another Florida boy with the tackle there on that play. Now with 13-16 left to go here in this third quarter, the ball now at the 27-yard line. First down for Bluffton. Again, a tied game still coming out of the half. Receiver to either side of Clark. Clark will hand it off to Banks. Banks trying to find some room on the far side, but will only get about 3 or 4 yards on the carry. Another steady gain by the Bluffton offense as they keep marching close, and the Comets not letting them get any of these big plays, especially in the running game. They're trying to make sure that they are sound on that side of the field heading in to a very important half here. And we now see Tywan Clark in the offense getting some direction from the coaches here before setting up for this play. 12:24 now left to go. 2nd and 8. Clark with 2 receivers to his right, 1 to his left. Setting a man in motion. Clark will look to dump it off quickly, and it will be a short pass to Jamarian Banks. Jamarian Banks' 2nd reception and the 3rd, actually, that will be the pass number 6 already for Bluffton. They're really making sure to, again, maybe they're just trying to get Olivet off guard a little bit, trying to utilize the passing game a little more. Already 2 passing attempts in this opening drive. And it will be enough there for a 1st and 10 at the 16-yard line. Jamarian Banks, his 2nd reception. This time Javon Hudson behind Clark. He'll set Connor Cannon in motion. He'll look to hand it off to Javon Hudson, but Hudson runs into his own guy, but he finds some room regardless. Hudson was backed up about maybe 3 or 4 yards because he literally ran into his own guy, but that won't matter much because he still stays on his feet, finds enough room, and it will be a gain of 1 yard on the play. That could have been a disaster for Bluffton, but it was Javon Hudson staying on his feet there. And now for Bluffton, we have a new running back behind Tywan Clark. It's number 38, Raekwon Ruffin, the freshman from Schertz, Texas. Now behind Clark with 2 receivers to his right. And he will get his first carry of the game, Raekwon Ruffin. And he will get a gain of about 2 yards on the carry. It will be a 3rd down here still inside the 20-yard line, so they are in the red zone. Again, as I mentioned before the play started, before we got going here for the second half, that both teams have converted on each of their red zone opportunities. So Bluffton has 2 more chances to convert on this, now their 3rd opportunity. 2 receivers to the right of Clark. Ruffin in the backfield. Clark will roll out to his left instead, fake the handoff. Again, it will go to Connor Cannon for a short gain until he gets out of bounds. He was inside the 10 when he got outside of bounds. Not enough, however, for the 1st down, so it will be 4th and 1 coming up for Bluffton. And it looks like they're gonna elect to go for it. The ball will be on the 7-yard line as they're getting close, and they just need a yard to get to 1st and goal territory. And if they do not convert here, this will be their first failed red zone conversion. And Olivet still has a perfect record there. And it will be a timeout for Bluffton with 9:27 left to go. They just need a little more time to figure out what they're going to do. Again, this might also be some mind trickery possibly from the Beavers. I've kind of noticed that, as I mentioned, with some of their plays. They've just been trying to catch Olivet off guard, and they certainly have on some of these plays. But will it be enough to get a score and to regain the lead? That's exactly what we'll have to find out here. Tywan Clark, after only 4 passing attempts in the first half, has now already tacked on 3 more. He's now 5 for 7 for 78 yards. Both him and Jamarian Banks each have 10 attempts rushing. Jamarian Banks, that's gone for 65 yards. Tywan Clark has gone for 30. Again, that's also counting the fact that he's been sacked several times. Connor Cannon now leads, the tight end, now leads the receiving corps in both. He's tied for receptions and now leads them in yards with 33. It's now 4th and 1, a crucial 4th down here for the Beavers. The receiver on either side, and Jamarian Banks at the hip of Clark, and that's who will get the ball. No, it's Clark with the fake, and they'll be in for the touchdown. He fooled everybody on that one. The second rushing touchdown for Tywan Clark. Adding on another one, now he ties his touchdown totals. Actually, yeah, he does tie that one, because now he has 4 touchdowns apiece for rushing. 4 touchdowns apiece for rushing and passing. And it all looked like Jamarian Banks was there, but instead Clark just makes sure to maneuver his way through the offensive and defensive lines. Just a wonderful example of some Bluffton trickery there, and that'll get them, with the extra point good from Colton Jugovic, that will get them on the board here for this second half and also back in the lead. The score now, Bluffton 28, Olivet 21. And it will be Comet ball here as we continue to get going here in this second, almost at second quarter there, almost in this second half. Again, Carter Leatherwood out to receive for the Comets. And he's been making some really solid returns out of his time here so far today as the main kick returner for Olivet. Maybe this is the freshman kind of proving his worth a little bit to the team. Jugovic again set to kick off here. Again, 9:23 left to go in this third quarter. Man, where has the time gone? That one definitely went by very quickly. Jugovic's kick is up, and it will sail out of bounds at the 30-yard line. Not the prettiest kick from the freshman, the 6'8" freshman, might I say, Colton Jugovic. And that ball will sail out past the 30-yard line, and that will be, since it did go out of bounds, regardless, it will be the Comets will start on the 35-yard line. I literally, I'm not joking with you all. I just found out the height of Colton Jugovic, 6'8", 190, from Mansfield, Ohio. Definitely using his legs throughout the season here. Avila and company, it's actually going to be on the 40-yard line. That's my mistake there. They moved it up. They have a pair of backs behind Avila, Ramel Frank and Jalen Johnson. And two receivers, Bates and Brashears on the left, and Rashawn Mercier on the right. Avila back under center for the Comets, looking to tie the ball game here as after that Bluffton score. Jalen Johnson gets the ball using his strength to power through a defender before he's eventually brought down. That was Savon Gatlin on the tackle there for Bluffton. The 6-foot sophomore number 90 from Riverdale, Georgia. It's another out-of-stater even for Bluffton there. Not enough there for the first down, but a manageable 2nd and 4 for the Comets. Again, they're going still with that 2-back formation. It's Ramel Frank and Jalen Johnson. Same crew out here for offense. Avila will hand it off to Johnson again. Johnson has a lot more room this time, and he'll get enough for that Comet first down and a little more. They now find themselves into enemy territory, and the ball will be at the 44-yard line for the Comets. Brandon Resno again, one of the safeties for Bluffton on the tackle there. He's already the leading tackler, and he's adding on to that total in this game now. 8:10 left to go. 1st and 10 on the 44. Avila once again handing it off to Jalen Johnson. And get a gain of about 5 yards on the carry. getting down to the 40-yard line, and now they're going to swap out running backs. Johnson out for Dorian Freeman. Keeping those bodies fresh. It's definitely good when especially when you're the coaching staff and you have a lot of capable runners, and you can just swap them out every other play. It's very convenient. So now it's Romel Frank and Dorian Freeman for the 2nd and 6 on the 40. Avila will let's pass this time, rolling out to the near side, almost picked off there by the secondary for Bluffton. That was Nolan Mills, who had the interception earlier. Definitely tipped that ball. It was intended for Noah Bates, and that was in double coverage. Nolan Mills could have gotten another one there. That would have been a highlight reel catch. It would have been one-handed if he had gotten that. But I'm sure they'll be happy with the deflection anyway, because it's a 3rd and 6 for the Comets. Now 7:28 left to go. 2 receivers to the left of Avila. Brashears and Bates still on that side. Avila dropping back to pass, looking for Mercier on the right side. Another deflection there. This time that deflection was by Kiney Brantley, a freshman defensive back for Bluffton. 6 foot from Venice, Florida. On the deflection there and the coverage against Rashawn Mercier. Now it's a crucial 4th down for Olivet. If they don't convert this, Bluffton gets another chance to extend their lead, a lead that has not been greater than what it is now. 2 receivers on either side of Avila with some extra coverage. Going across the middle, and it is complete. Rashawn Mercier, all reliable. As that slant pass completed, and the ball will go all the way to the 20-yard line. They're just on the cusp of the red zone. Boy, did the Comets need that one. My goodness, that was probably the most important play of the day so far, and the Comets deliver. Now it's up to them to finish the drive. Brashears, Bates, and Mercier, their trusted trio out there. Avila, instead of passing, he'll look to take it himself, but won't go anywhere. Looks kind of unsure on that play, but he stuck with it and decided to run on that one. A gain of 0, and it will be 2nd and 10. On the tackle there, that was Devin Hogan, one of the linebackers. He's the middle linebacker, actually, for Bluffton. And that will be 2nd and 10 at the same spot here, with 6:13 left to go in this ball game. Well, in the 3rd quarter, my mistake. Still got 1 more quarter left to go here. And he'll hand it off there to, looks like, Romel Frank. And he'll get a gain of about a couple of yards there, maybe 2 or 3. Again, on the tackle, that was Devin Hogan. And now we're swapping out Romel Frank and Julian Toscano for some more receiving options. Specifically, Wade Brashears and Dami Suffrant, the 2 freshmen coming back in for the Comets. Will they go with a passing play here on this 3rd and 8? Or will they try to fool the Bluffton defense and go with Dorian Freeman? 4 receivers, Mercier on his lone side. And they will attempt to pass here. And Avila's pass goes right through the hands of Savon Gatlin. Could have been a big man pick there as Avila tried to thread the needle, and it doesn't end up going well for them. But so it looks at the moment looks like a 4th and 8. Thought the refs were discussing something there for a second, but alas, doesn't seem to be much of anything. Same formation here on this another crucial 4th down here for Olivet on the 18-yard line. 5:15 left to go. Can Bluffton get a stop here? Avila looking for a pass, and it is incomplete. Bobbled by Rashawn Mercier. Several Bluffton defenders on the play there, but you definitely saw number 7, Devin Hogan, there again on that play. And what a stop by the Beavers. Their field position isn't great, but it definitely puts so much more pressure on the Olivet defense. Because if Bluffton goes up by 2 scores, it's not looking good for the Comets. Bluffton will, on this turnover, the first turnover on downs of this game. 5:09 left to go, ball on the 18-yard line. Clark and company back out there. Ball will be handed off to Jamarian Banks, and he'll get a gain of about a couple yards on that one. And it will be 2nd down and medium for the Beavers. Danny Avila for Olivet now exactly 50% from his first passes. He's 10 for 20, 125 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Noah Bates still leading the receiving corps with 58 receiving yards. Both him and Rashawn Mercier are leading the corps in receptions, each with 4. 2nd and 6, 4:28 left to go. Clark will fake the handoff, but pressure's coming. Riley Baird's on it. Instead, he'll roll out to the far side, try to pass to Connor Cannon, but it falls incomplete. Riley Baird was on that one. You could just see him chasing down Tywan Clark, and Bluffton's facing a possible 3rd and out here. Definitely what you want if you're Olivet. 4:20 left to go here in this 3rd quarter. And still got a lot of great football ahead of us. As the bells ringing in Olivet for this 3rd down. It's a 3rd and 6 on the Bluffton 22-yard line. And it will be a timeout, Bluffton. They need some time to talk about it. And the Olivet will get another chance as well. Tywan Clark 5 for 8 today so far, 78 yards. Jamarian Banks and Jamarian Banks are still making good progress on the running game. Still nothing from their main 2 receivers. When it comes to the defensive side of things, though, pulling up that side now, Devin Hogan leading their defense in tackles with 7. Brandon Resnover of the secondary with 6. You also got Savon Gatlin. Here's an interesting stat for you about Savon Gatlin, because typically for defense, there's solo tackles and assisted tackles. Savon Gatlin, 5 tackles, all solo. So, solo Savon, I guess you could call him there, going alone on his tackles, and he's definitely making a big difference, also with a tackle for loss as well. 3rd and 6 out of that timeout for Bluffton. Clark setting a man in motion. That time Nigel Payne. He's looking to go. Clark rolling out to the far side. He's looking deep, and the pass is completed to Jashawn Wyckoff, who looked kind of like he had the angle, but he goes so far. And it looks like he did step out before, a little before what was thought of, but for his first reception of the game, it's a pretty solid one. And it's one that will take Bluffton all the way to Olivet territory, and it'll be a 1st and 10 on this 44-yard line. A 34-yard pass and reception for Jashawn Wyckoff. Cameron Page set in motion here for Bluffton. And Jamarian Banks will be on the carry and will be stopped at around the 40-yard line. It will be a gain of 5. And it will be on the tackle there for Olivet, Christian McMillan. One of the main bright spots of that secondary. And Christian McMillan also leading the team in tackles, now with 8 on the day. 2nd and 10 with 3:10 left to go. Bluffton still leading 28-21, and they have the ball in Olivet territory. A score here would be big for the Beavers. Clark will fake the handoff, but still looking for Banks, and will dump it off for a short pass, and he'll get a 1st down and a little more as he runs out of bounds just past the 30-yard line. You could tell that Clark Kozayan banks from the get-go. Even if it wasn't going to be a handoff, he had eyes locked to the running back. And Olivet's linebackers and secondary just didn't get there in time. And it's going to be a first down for the Beavers. 2:33 left to go in this third quarter. It's going by quickly. Receiver on either side of Clark, putting a man in motion. Clark will hand it off to Banks again, but this time the defensive line there for Olivet's there. Not enough for a massive loss, but still there to prevent a massive gain. It'll be second down and a gain of about 3. And man, the impact that Javon Peterson is making today, he was on the tackle there. The stats may not show it as much, but he's had some very big moments in this game. He's proving to be a standout for this Olivet defense. 1:45 left to go, 2nd and 8 in the 27. Clark sending a man in motion. He'll fake the handoff, rolling out to his right. He'll air one. He's looking for the near side, and it's just a tad overthrown. That was intended for a new receiver for Bluffton. Number 3, Deontay Golson, the freshman receiver from Trotwood, Ohio, graduate of Trotwood Madison. And a 3rd and 8. Now for Bluffton, they had a big play here. They had a big play earlier, and it came to their last 3rd down. Can they repeat that here and maybe even get another score in the process? 4 receivers out, including Jamarian Banks for Bluffton. Also including Deontay Golson, the new receiver. Clark under center. Instead, he'll take it himself, trying to run up the middle, but the defensive line was there. For the tackle there for Olivet. It looked to be number 51 for Olivet, Mackay, but it actually will be Corey Cheatham on the tackle there. And it will be 4th and 6 here. And they will elect to go for a field goal. Some points are better than nothing. With less than a minute, it's getting loud here at the Cutler Athletic Complex. The kick is up, and it is good right through the uprights for Bluffton. That will be Ryan Bork. Excuse me, that's Drew Michael on the kick there. The 5'11" junior from Eaton, Ohio. It's also the county we're in, so that's interesting. So kind of filling in there for Colton Jugovic. As Bluffton, the score now, as after that field goal, Bluffton 31, Olivet 21. This is still within reach for the Comets, but you're definitely going to have to start making some progress on these drives. Olivet hasn't scored yet in this quarter. And with 48 seconds left to go, they're definitely hoping for their first opportunity to do just that. Let's look again at some of these stats for the game so far. Both teams have converted on 4 3rd downs. Bluffton's had 9 of them, Olivet with 6, and both teams have also converted on a 4th down. Olivet with 2 and Bluffton with 1. In terms of total yardage, Bluffton now takes the advantage there, 263 to 217. And Bluffton now starting to pass a lot more, so the passing yards is almost even, only a 2-yard difference. There's still been both quarterbacks have been sacked a fair amount, and there's also been fumbles on either side. 31 to 21, and that kick from Jugovic sails out of bounds. So Olivet will get some pretty solid field position here. So they're going to open this drive with only 48 seconds to go. What do? Not only opening, this drive would not only close out the 3rd quarter, but possibly open the 4th. Got to think about what Olivet needs to do here to make the score a little more even. I think definitely the first thing they need to do is make smart choices on the passing end. There's been some close calls with Danny Avila. And I think that's the main thing that they need to work on for this drive coming up here. 1st and 10 on the 35. Toscano set in motion. A trio of receivers out there with Jalen Johnson behind Avila. And the snap looks like a bit of a false start there. And it will be on the offense. Saw some little confusion there on that play, so they will be backed up 5 yards. So it'll be 1st and 15. You definitely saw some weird movement coming from the offensive line there. Bluffton got to be feeling good about that. That is Olivet's first penalty of the day. 48 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Avila goes to a short pass and another fumble, but it will be ruled incomplete first. A pass intended for Rashawn Mercier, another big hit as the helmet of Devin Hogan comes off in the process. And it will be 2nd down. It looked like Mercier had the handle, but it looked like it wasn't secure enough to be a fumble at that point. So now it will be 2nd and long for the Comets. Two receivers on the left, one to the right of Avila. Jalen Johnson still out there running back. Avila looking to that near side, and he gets Noah Bates again. Bates brought down at the 43-yard line. Gain of 13 on the pass. So it'll be third and 2. With the clock still ticking, now under 30 seconds. As Raid Brashears, the freshman wide receiver, going back to the sideline there. Noah Bates, another reception there. We see here, though, Avila now 11 for 22, 138 yards on the game. 3rd and 2. Jalen Johnson on the carry, muscling his way through. Definitely running over some defenders, and he kind of looked like he had that gap there, but forward motion was ended, so he's not going to get the rest of the green grass ahead of him. And that will be the last play of the quarter. Again, the score: Bluffton 31, Olivet 21. Bluffton with 10 so far unanswered points. Olivet will try to even the score here in these final 15 minutes of play. Still a beautiful day here at the Cutler Athletic Complex. The time here in Olivet, Michigan is 2:27. And we still got a quarter left to go here. A reminder that you're listening to WOCR 89.1 The One, your source for local sports. I'm Jack Webb, your host and commentator for this game. It's been a really interesting one so far. A lot of momentum from both teams. It's really been a back and forth battle. Right now Bluffton has the edge, but Olivet, they will open with a 1st down on the 46. Pretty solid field position to be in. And they will try to make a difference here. And as the offense and defense for both sides now comes back out after the break. Fresh 15 on the clock here. A big quarter. Most important one for Olivet if they want to win this football game and get their first win of the season. Avila now with 2 backs here. He'll go with a quick pass to Rashawn Mercier. Mercier's still on his feet. And he'll get close to that 1st down marker, but not quite get there. He'll get to the Bluffton 45-yard line, so now they're in enemy territory. It'll be a 2nd and 1 here for the Comets. With the opening minute now underway here in this 4th quarter. Again, 2 backs behind Avila. Toscano there too. He's being set in motion. It's Bates and Mercier, the receivers. And they'll be headed off to Jalen Johnson, who will get a gain of 3 yards, and that will be enough for a Comet 1st down. He found enough room on the inside there. Good blocking there from the offensive line. Again, you have some big bodies on that O-line. You have Kyle Cruzen, you have Jelani Harmer. Trying to do their best to make the trenches safe for Avila and his running backs. Again, the score, 31-21, Bluffton leading. Olivet, though, marching down the field, trying to get another touchdown and try to make this game closer. Avila, a deep pass after that. It's intended for Mercier, but just too far. But right after that play, a flag is thrown, and it looks like pass interference. It'll be on. It looks to be, if it will be pass interference, it will be. And it'll be on Jaden McBreen. He's the star defensive back for Bluffton. We haven't seen him a lot so far in this game, but we see him there for all the wrong reasons. And a massive swing of momentum there. As that ball from Avila, and once he stepped back, that was already going deep. He wasted no time there. And Mercier was in a battle with McBreen. It was just a little too much contact on that one. And so Olivet will march up the field and will be setting up shop here on the 27-yard line. Much better position here, and it's a fresh set of downs. You have Toscano there, tight end, and the trio of receivers, Mercier, Bates, and Brashears. I think he's looking for one of them. He's looking for Bates, and that will be complete as both McBreen and Hogan teamed up for the tackle there. Could have been a dangerous tackle because both of them were heading for Bates at full speed. Both of them almost collided with him at the same time. So definitely glad that wasn't a full contact there. 13-14 left to go. 2nd and 5 available. Like to pass again. And the ball looks to be deflected. So it'll be a 3rd down. It was knocked down at the line. It looked to be deflected by Damari Wright, who's one of the defensive linemen making a difference for Bluffton. As Olivet will get Ami Suffrant, that 4th receiver, out here for this 3rd down. It's going to be on the 22-yard line. Clock is at 13:10. Jalen Johnson at the hip of Avila. They'll pitch it to Johnson. Johnson is still going on the near side after being tripped up initially. It doesn't look to be enough for the 1st down. Oh, it will be, in fact. Looked kind of close. But it will be enough for a 1st down as we're now under 13 minutes here. And the Comets now in the red zone trying to get another conversion here. Just kind of even up the score a little bit. The ball on the 16-yard line. The same 4 receivers still out there. Jalen Johnson still behind Avila. So same formation. Well, same personnel, at least different formation now. Avila, he's going for Mercier on the near side. Almost a one-handed grab. That was great coverage by Kaimi Brantley there. He was going for that top right corner. And it worked out well for that first passing touchdown earlier in the game where Avila went for Bates on the opposite side. And that one worked, but that one just not as efficient there. Didn't work out in their favor. 2nd and 10 with 12:29 left to go. Ami Suffrant subbed out for Julian Toscano to add some more blocking. Avila will fake the handoff, and they'll go to Toscano. Julian Toscano, touchdown, Olivet. The tight end will get the score there, as he'll be used as a receiver there, and Olivet gets the touchdown that they needed to really just get the momentum back and make the game a little more in reach. Their first score of the half, and pending a kick from Angel Potter, they'll only be down by a couple points. The kick from Potter up and good. So the score now, Bluffton 31, Olivet 28. Comets with a well-needed score. So they're only down a field goal. Definitely well within reach. 12:23 here at the Cutler Athletic Complex. So definitely some really close calls on that drive. But they were definitely aided by that penalty from Bluffton, that pass interference from one of their top defensive backs. And that time using an unlikely weapon there on the receiving end in Julian Toscano, his first reception of the game. Kind of same with Ramel Frank earlier in the first half, who his only rushing attempt was a touchdown. As Angel Ponder getting set off here to kick off again. The lone returner here for Bluffton is Jamarian Banks. And now he's joined by Trey Cunningham. It's going to go out to the near side and sails out of bounds at around the 15-yard line. Obviously, flag coming out there. And it will be pretty good field position here for the Beavers. So if you're Olivet, you need to have a stop here. A field goal wouldn't be too bad. You'd still be down 6 points, so it's manageable, but you just need to prevent a touchdown if you're Olivet. Because as the clock continues to tick, and Bluffton, they like to take their time with a lot of these plays, they're going to be looking to kind of burn some clock a little bit, and if they get another score, it's not going to be looking good, and you won't have a lot of time to get back. Jamarian Banks out in motion now as a receiver, and this time Clark's just going to take it himself, and it will be a gain of nothing on the play. The linebackers there for Olivet were ready. So it's not gonna, nothing's gonna be moving here. It's still gonna be a second and 10, and it will be with 12 minutes left to go now. Exactly, second down. Clark, that was his 12th rushing attempt of the day. He's had 37 yards. And he will be under snap now. He's looking to pass, and it'll be a short pass to Jamarian Banks, which will be complete and brought down by a pair of defensive backs, mainly for the Comets. It will be for the Comets. It'll be number 17, Riley Laird, and it'll also be Montrell Reed, also on the tackle. Montrell Reed had that interception against Madonna that really sparked the momentum for Olivet. We really haven't seen much of him at all today. But we have been seeing a lot of Riley Laird. And he was definitely on the tackle there too. A 3rd and 8 with 11 minutes to go here. Score's still the same. It's on the 37-yard line. Man is set in motion while Clark goes back to pass. But pressure's coming quick. He airs it out to the near side, and it's complete. A pass completed there. Cameron Page on the reception. And that was right as pressure was coming to Tywan Clark. And that will be a massive play. That will definitely be moving the chains. And it will go all the way to the 35-yard line of Olivet. You could see here a lot of people, whether they're in the press box here or if they're down in the field, they're definitely not happy about that one. 1st and 10 here on the 35. Clark will hand it off to Jamarian. Jamarian Banks will go out of bounds. Get a gain of about a yard or two. But there will be an injured player here on the offense. Oh, geez, it's going to be number 6, Nigel Payne. He's one of the good receivers for Bluffton. He's a senior, 3-year starter, and he's down on the field right now, being attended to by trainers. Both teams going to their sideline. We've seen a couple of injuries to some linemen today, but they were able to get up and walk off the field pretty quickly. But we have both the Olivet and the Bluffton trainers communicating with Nigel Payne here. Time now, the time remaining here in the fourth quarter is 10:07. When play resumes there, we will have a 2nd and 9 on the 34-yard line. Both teams still at their sideline talking things through. Earlier, that was a 28-yard completion to Cameron Page that set up this opportunity and this field position. He now has 55 yards of receiving. Nigel Page still down for Bluffton. And we're going to take a 30-second break here. You're listening to WOCR 89.1 The One. We'll be right back after this quick message. And you're back here with WOCR 89.1 The One. We had to take a break there for an injury on the side of Bluffton's offense. That was Nigel Page, the receiver there, number 6. He was able to walk off. And now we have number 3, Deontay Golson, who we saw earlier, filling in for him on the offense here. It's a 2nd and 9 on the 34-yard line with 10 minutes left to go. Not 10 seconds. 10 minutes left to go here. Golson's set in motion. Clark will fake the handoff, and he'll take it himself. And he will get a gain of about 5 yards. And we're seeing some people really get thrown off by the athleticism of Taiwan Clark, and also just again, as we're talking about some of that Bluffton trickery. Olivet's really going to have to get a handle on that if they're going to get a stop here. This is a very manageable 3rd down here for Bluffton, not only because of the fact that they only have 4 yards to go, but they're within the 30-yard line. So even if they don't convert, they could go all for it on 4th down. They're up, so they can do that. Page set in motion, and the ball will be handed off to Jamarian Banks, and will be enough to move the chains. So another 3rd down conversion here for Bluffton, showing that they're not only still in the lead, but they're still moving at a very, very solid pace here. You know, I mentioned last week when I was up here in the press box, from Cutler you can see 4 different fields. Actually, yeah, you can see 5 actually. You can see 5 different fields and / courts. You can see obviously football stadium, you can see soccer field, you can see baseball and softball, and you can also, and the sport I forgot before, you can also see the tennis courts as well. So a lot of great view here from the press box. Clark will take it himself here. He's going to run it to the other side, make some men miss. He'll eventually get brought down. It'll be a gain of about 2 yards. It'll be 2nd down with 8 minutes left to go. Again, Bluffton really they're doing a really good job at just whittling this clock down as much as they can. We're already under 8 minutes. It's 2nd and 8 now for Bluffton. And they have a chance here to get another score, and Olivet needs to get a stop. Clark with Banks at his hip. He'll elect to pass this time with pressure coming, and he'll get wrapped up and taken down. My goodness, another big play by the defense here, and a well-needed sack there. That was the 5th sack of Clark. And here on that sack there, it was either Dontrell Thomas, but also could have been Javon Peterson. Again, we've been missing up those 4s and 2s a little bit there, but it might have that was Dontrell Thomas that time. Both of them making difference there, even though their jerseys look so similar. It's a 3rd and 16 here with 6:50 left to go. It's on the 30-yard line. Clark back to pass. He's got time. He'll air it out. That's complete to Golson on the far side. Dante Golson. He looks like he got enough for that 1st down. If not, that was awfully close. He will not get enough. It will be, though, 4th and inches. It's not even a yard, it is within a yard. If you are Olivet, this is probably, again, the biggest play of the game here so far. It is getting loud here at the Cutler Athletic Complex. Fans are roaring, the sidelines roaring, cheerleaders, the band, press box. The Olivet needs a stop if they want to prevent a score here. And Bluffton's going for it. They're not going for the field goal. They will be going for it here. It's a handoff to Banks. Still a lot of movement there. But there's a flag on the play here. And it was no foul. Looks like we saw that there a couple, like last week. We saw that it happened a couple times where there just wasn't a penalty. The ref mistakenly threw the flag, or it just fell out of their pocket or their belt. But they have ruled that Banks on the carry got enough for that first down. So Bluffton again with a massive, just a very momentous offensive play here, as they're ever so slowly, might I say, marching closer and closer to the end zone. They're now on the 14-yard line on this 1st and 10. Clark with 2 receivers. To his right, it's Wyckoff and Golson. Hand the ball off to Javon Hudson. First rush there for him for a while, but that one goes nowhere. It will be a loss of 1. Good defensive stop there by Olivet. A lot of linemen and linebackers there, very active on that play. That was the first carry for Javon Hudson in a while. And now he's already getting subbed back out for Jamarian Banks. Under 5 to go now. It's almost seems like a minute of play almost, or 2 minutes of play rather. Ball will be handed off to Banks again, but looks like originally he was going to be wrapped up, but he's still powering, goes with her. He is still on his feet. Jamarian Banks is still on his feet. He's still powering through. That is unbelievable. I thought for a second he looked like he was going to get wrapped up immediately, but he just kept going. And personal timeout here, as there's going to be substitution. Looks like Yamacho Reed's helmet came off there, so he'll have to sit out the play. Austin Straub, the defensive lineman, the captain there, coming back in for the Comets. 4:20 and counting left to go in this 4th quarter. If Olivet doesn't get a stop here, it could be, depending on how much time is wasted or spent here from Bluffton, it's going to look pretty improbable. Banks with the handoff there. He won't get to the goal line, but he'll definitely get a gain of about 2 yards there on that carry. So getting closer and closer there. It'll be 2nd and goal for the Comets. So they're really just starting to only go with Banks for this here. And that was his 18th rushing attempt. And it's 94 yards of rushing so far for him, and he's also been used as a receiving option too, as we know. And this is exactly how he'll be used in this play. 2nd and 2 with 3:18 left to go. Clark will take it himself. He has enough room, and he walks in. Touchdown, Bluffton. He just finds another path. He was untouched. He walked into the end zone. That is his 2nd rushing touchdown. And with that touchdown, Tywan Clark as a quarterback has more rushing touchdowns than passing touchdowns in this season. He has had 0 passing touchdowns so far in this game, but he's just been so active on foot. And they will try to fake, either they try to fake it or they just botch the snap, and they will not go anywhere there. So it's going to be 37-28 with the extra point attempt or whatever that was being no good or incomplete. So for Olivet, even a touchdown won't be enough. You need 2 scores. And with there only being 3 minutes left to go, you have to hurry up. And that's exactly why it's really showing here that Bluffton has a very, very draining offensive scheme. They just drain you. They start with the ball at like the beginning of the quarter, and then they just whittle the time down as much as they possibly can. I swear that drive lasted 7 to 8 minutes. 7 to 8 minutes. Or maybe even 6 to 7 minutes, if you know what I mean. But score's still the same. The score still counts, though. 37-28, though. That was Tywan Clark's 3rd touchdown of the game. Here's a fun fact also, as the kick is picked up here and returned, and they will be marked down at around the 30-yard line. Oh, some words being exchanged there from both sides. Both sides kind of being a little hype there and had to be separated. Here's that fun fact. For both Tywan Clark and Daniel Avila have the exact same amount of passing yards. They each have 168 passing yards. But Avila, who is now with the Olivet offense taking the field, they've scored with the quarter. They've scored over the air. Clark has not scored once over the air today. But clearly, with Bluffton being up by 9 points, they haven't needed to. Avila now with 4 receivers. They're just looking to go. Avila rushing out to his right, and it's going to sail out of bounds. He just couldn't find anything downfield. And that pressure from the Bluffton defensive line was coming. You had some defensive linemen for Bluffton kind of making a difference here so far in this game. I mean, yeah, you have a lot of the tackles coming from the defensive backs and the linebackers, but you have Savon Gatlin, Damari Wright. You have, looking for his name there, can't find it, but yeah, Max Moore also on that fumble recovery. As that defensive line again. And speaking of Max Moore, he was on that play. I would have needed his name anyway. As on that play, I spoke a little too long there, but on that play, Avila gets wrapped up by Max Moore. And despite the 3rd and 17 they have, they're just going to hurry up and go. This drive hasn't even lasted a full minute. Avila rushing out to his right, kind of looking for some sort of screen pass. The pass, it was incomplete, but oh my goodness, that looked like it was by Ami Suffrant. It looked like he just got a stable enough grasp on that, but it was ruled incomplete. All the Bluffton defense players are saying, no, that's not good. And the refs went with that. And now, this could be, possibly, with the way Bluffton plays, do or die for the Comets. With 2:27 left to go, that's already a 4th down, and they got 17 yards to go. They need a big play here to keep the game alive. Avila stepping back, pressure coming. Aaron went out to the near side, and it's picked off! Intercepted by Kiney Brantley. The intended receiver slipped, and it was already kind of overthrown anyway, and it went just perfectly right in the hands of Kiney Brantley. And that is the second pick from Avila, and I don't know, that might do it. I know there's 2 minutes left, but the drive from Bluffton took almost the entire quarter. I would bet here that it's just going to last the rest of the game. It's going to be a 1st and 10, the 47. 37-28 is still the score here. Bluffton still leads. And Clark will hand it off to Jamarian Banks, who will get a gain of about 6 or 7 yards. 6-7 yards on the carry. And Olivet will get their Olivet will get a timeout there. Again, trying to prevent the time from elapsing here. That is certainly possible, for Bluffton to kind of, have their drive be sped up by Coach Jeiter taking his timeouts and using clock to his advantage. But the moment that there's a first down, it's game over. That's kind of how that works. If you can force them to go 3 and out, or even 3 and out, and having to punt or have an improbable fourth down play, it can work. But even then, if you're the Comets, you need 2 scores, and I do not see that happening. Olivet, if they do lose, will go to 0-3. Bluffton will go to 2-1. It's a 2nd and 5 on the 42. Now for Bluffton, the Beavers. Like that mascot they have, the Beavers. 2:13, they'll hand it off again to Jamarian Banks. Jamarian Banks has a lot more room, he's still going. He'll get past the 30-yard line. And he will, and the chains will be a-moving. And despite the fact that the timeouts really don't mean much now that they got the first down, Coach Jeiter and his staff, they're still electing to do it. The next game for Olivet, this is the end of their non-conference slate. And they will now, starting next week, will kick off MIAA play against Adrian. And, of course, as we know here at Olivet, next week will be homecoming. So, currently, if I look, the stands aren't as full as they could be. But for homecoming, that definitely will be a different story. They'll definitely need a quality win, and a win in front of their home crowd would definitely be good to open up their conference play. 2:08 left to go. 1st and 10 on the 29. Clark's just been handing it off to. He's been handing it off to the runner for Bluffton. He's just been handing it off to Jamarian Banks. And now with a 2-minute timeout, both teams have a chance to talk about it here. But Jamarian Banks, despite the fact that it's just the same play over and over again, he's still making some good ground. And the next game for the Beavers of Bluffton, they will also go to conference play now, as both teams have 3 non-conference. Oh, my mistake. Bluffton actually has 4 non-conference, but their next non-conference game won't be until the end of the season, where they'll be facing against Marietta. Their next game will be against Manchester, opening up HCAC play. As I mentioned before in the pregame, the MIAA and the HCHC have a challenge in which teams from each of the conferences, they face up against each other. Of course, some of these schools, if you have covered or have watched Olivet sports for the past couple of years, they definitely sound very familiar. Schools like Anderson, schools like Hanover and Franklin, the latter two Olivet's faced in football in years previous. Last year for Olivet, they faced Hanover and lost 56-14. They faced Hanover the year prior as well and lost 67-17. That was despite them getting a win against them in 2022. 2nd and 5 now with 2 minutes left to go. Banks will get the handoff again, has some room on the far side, but he gets tripped up before he can get some more space, and it will be first and 10, and the final timeout being used by Coach Jeiter and his staff. I actually should say, by the way, that Bluffton's next week's opponent, Manchester, actually also is pretty familiar to Olivet, because that's exactly who they faced in 2021. And for the Olivet fans that have been kind of disappointed for how these matchups have gone in the past, they did beat Manchester in that year 59-7. And that was when they only lost 3 games. That last game in that season, by the way, in 2021, they defeated the now defunct Finlandia University 79-6. And a minute 55 now left to go in this game. But Olivet, the rest of their slate It's all going through conference. Adrian and Kalamazoo, Trine, Alma, Calvin with the new program they have, Albion, and they will finish the season with Hope, who has given them a lot of trouble, as Hope has given trouble to a lot of teams in the last few years. On the 19-yard line now, and they are now in victory formation. And the first, and right before, because they stalled a little bit there, we've seen knees being faked before. And right before Olivet can jump the line there, and Tywan Clark does take that knee. And the clock just continues to tick as it is eerily quiet here at the Cutler Athletic Complex. For Bluffton, in the rest of their schedule, they will face the following teams in order: Manchester, then Anderson, Mount St. Joseph, Rose-Hulman, Hanover Franklin, and then, as I mentioned, they will be finishing their year with Marietta as their opponent there. Bluffton has not won at least 2 games in their non-conference slate since 2020. This is their best start since that COVID year, where they defeated Adrian 28-21, Manchester by 49-14, and then Anderson 35-27. Their first loss wasn't until the 4th game. Again, that was also a shortened season as well. Is now 3rd and 14 as the knees just keep on coming. And I'm looking back at the history of Bluffton right now. And aside from COVID, the last time they had this good of a start was in 2016, where they did go 3-0, including a win over Trine. And that will do it, folks. The final score here, Bluffton 37, Olivet 28. Bluffton will improve to 2-1 on the season. Olivet still has not gotten their first win. And despite the fact that they definitely put up a much greater fight than any of their last couple games, and definitely look the strongest they have all season, they're just not there yet in terms of playing winning football. And there were just too many plays where the momentum just wasn't there and wasn't enough. Let's kind of take one last look at the final stats here before we send it back to the station for more wonderful music. Let's kind of cover some more of these stats here. Both teams were quite efficient in covering for third downs, Olivet being more efficient, but the difference, though, is that Bluffton was 2 for 2 on their 4th downs. And even though it's a difference of a down, that still makes a big difference. Bluffton, again, like the rest of the teams have for Olivet, has outgained them in terms of yardage. It was 350 to 265 there in this game. Both teams end up with the exact same amount of passing yards. Both quarterbacks for both Bluffton and Olivet end up with 168 passing yards. And it was Tywan Clark that was a lot more efficient with his passing choices there, especially also they just relied on the run more. He went 10 for 14 in the game, and Danny Avila went under 50%. He went 14 for 30. Definitely the least amount of passing attempts he's had all season, but also definitely some of the most inaccurate performances he's had. Bluffton's quarterback, Tywan Clark, being sacked 5 times in this game, so still an issue that Bluffton has to work on. But also, same goes for Olivet, as Avila was sacked 4 times, and 2 of those were fumbles. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword there. For rushing, it was all Bluffton there, 182 yards to 97 for Olivet. Of course, also the attempts were doubled for Bluffton as well. Olivet with 25 rushing attempts, Bluffton with 51. Olivet. So here's what's impressive for Olivet, at least. Olivet did not punt a single time in that entire game. They did not bring out the punting crew once. They either went for it on 4th down or didn't even need to because they were scoring. But just because you don't punt a single time doesn't mean you win the game, because clearly that's not what happened here. The ball, Danny Avila threw 2 interceptions. In terms of the yardage gain from those interceptions, that was 28 yards. First interception from from Bluffton. If I can get that, get those stats here. I know the last one was from Kaimi Brantley, number 2, for Bluffton. And the second one was on Nolan Mills. I forgot the name for a second there. Nolan Mills was the one that had the bigger return for 25 yards. And both of them definitely made a big difference in this game. And definitely made Avila's time a lot more difficult. And kind of just definitely for his inaccuracies made them a lot more worse. But however, the biggest difference I could say with this game is the fact that this was a very clean football game. Or at least it was a game that not a lot of penalties were called. Either one works, honestly. There were only 3 total penalties, and Olivet only had a single penalty in that game. So in terms of playing a cleaner football game, Olivet certainly has done that this week. So in terms of the things they needed to work on, it is very clear that the Comets are making a lot of progress. But they're just gonna need some more time to get back into the win column, it seems. Whether or not they can do that in conference play with the MIAA, it's gonna be a little challenging to tell. Because MIAA is I'd say very lopsided, for football. They either have really good schools or really awful schools. And so, Olivet could catch a break against, schools like maybe Kalamazoo. Historically, that's always worked out for Olivet, but in terms of, or even Albion has worked in the past too. But in terms of your Hope, your Calvin, just probably not going to get a win there, most likely. Let's look at some of the other scores from around the MIAA here for football. The 2 that I have currently at the moment that are live, that are still currently playing, Albion currently defeating Rose-Hulman. Rose-Hulman is, so all these schools are also in the same conference per the challenge. Albion currently leading Rose-Hulman 25-10. Hope also leading Mount St. Joseph 28-20. I'm trying to put in the results here, but it looks like I am currently unable to get those at the moment. But right now, Olivet, at least, one of the casualties of this loss for the MIAA. Again, that final score, Bluffton 37 and Olivet 28. For all of us here at WOCR 89 won the one, I'm Jack Webb. A shout out to Mads Ellis, who was once again running the board. Definitely appreciate their work there. And also a shout out to Eli sitting next to me, sat in with me in this game, and hopefully will be joining me for future broadcasts, because again, hey, broadcasting solo much harder than it looks, and it's always much easier to broadcast with somebody else. But here at us at WOCR, my name is Jack Webb, station manager and your commentator and host here for this afternoon's action. Thank you so much for listening, and now we return you to more selections from our musical playlist. Take care and have yourselves a great day. This is WOCR.